Welcome to the Game Informer Show. I am your host, Andy McNamara. This is the 501st episode of the show, which I only bring up because last week was our 500th episode. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone for the congrats, for listening, for being a part of our community, for the whole thing. It was really fun to go on and read the comments on YouTube and on GameInformer.com and just see what you had to say. And I just, it's very humbling for everyone that's been along with us on this journey. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But yeah, 501. So we're starting over again. So on our way to 600, on our way to 700, on our way to who knows where. But on this journey with me today is Joe Juba. How you doing, Joe?
Doing great. I'm just hoping to make it to 502.
I like your very short and sweet predictions of the future. So yes, I think we can make it.
Yeah, exactly. Attainable goals is what it's all about.
And also Dan not wearing a jacket. Tack. How are you doing?
I got to get my jacket. I'm not even joking.
Yeah,
You're fine.
I thought you had just switched over and you were now
No.
Dan, I wear a duck hat. Tack.
I forgot what accessories I was doing today.
Man,
yeah, I'm gonna I'll grab it as soon as you're done with me here.
Yeah, I love this that you've got to get that thing on. Well,
but anyway,
let's point out. Last week we were on a bit of a hurry, so I saw your duck hat and I commented on it, but I didn't get to ask. Did you order that specifically after this whole duck madness and get this delivered to you so you could wear it in the show?
Well, the answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I have several other pieces of duck-related apparel that I've collected that will be rolled out over time. I like ducks.
Do you have a drawer in your closet that's like the duck drawer where you have duck-related apparel?
There is one now, yeah.
You don't want to know what else is in that drawer, though, Andy.
But you might see it eventually.
It's a shrine to mallards.
Yeah, mallards are great. I just want to say it's been great, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that
Go get your jacket.
1 to 500 was just the beginning. Everything up from here is going to get insane and awesome, okay?
You mean you're wearing LED hands?
Oh, I am. Wow, I forgot the jacket, but I got my LED hands.
Like how you kept shoving your hands into the screen until everyone noticed. Just that call for help was pretty obvious.
Very subtle.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I'm going to grab a jacket.
All right. Also with us is Alex Stadnik. How are you doing?
Hello, friends. I am great. I am excited for all the special guests and fun we have today. We got Dan, we got Joe, no former hosts. It'll be great. It's gonna be a great show.
Yeah. It's just by the way, for everyone, if you want to turn it off now, it's just the four of us for the whole ride, right? So, but we do have a lot to talk about on this week's show. We are going to talk about some games. We're going to talk about the Tony Hawk remake. We are going to talk about the Mafia Trilogy. We are going to talk about the big Unreal Engine 5 reveal, which is going to probably be, look, there's Dan with his jacket. He's back. Welcome back, Dan.
It was great. Thank you.
And then discuss a little bit about, we did a special edition last week where we covered the Xbox Inside Xbox gameplay reveal. You guys had some comments about that. I think we want to talk about those and some news around that. And then we're going to do community and have fun. So this show is going to be, it's going to scream 501 is what it's going to scream. It's going to scream episode 501.
This is the hangover episode.
The hangover episode. That's correct. And
isn't
also
501, isn't that the famous Imperial Stormtrooper cosplay brigade?
It's like, oh, the 501st?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is Order 66. I maybe get my Star Wars numbers mixed up, right? Is that what it is? Is that it?
Different.
Yeah, those are very different. Yeah.
Yeah, those are very different. Also, as always, I love to read your comments. And please, if you like our content, please follow us on YouTube, hit the like button. The bell will give you alerts whenever we do content. And we've been doing some more content lately, I'd like to point out. Last week, we did that special edition on the Inside Xbox show that I mentioned earlier. But we've also, we plan on doing one on the 18 minutes for Ghost of Tsushima tomorrow. So let's hope that 18 minutes is informative. Because if it's not, we are going to have a weird special edition that doesn't really say much. But basically, I'll put together a panel tomorrow morning. We'll watch the big reveal. And then discuss it afterwards. We thought it was just kind of interesting, since I got to tell you, it's weird for a game like Ghost, which is coming out in July. I've seen 2 trailers just like you, and outside of that, I don't know anything. I mean, I have some things that I'm excited about the game. I like the theme, but I have no clue. So I'm really excited about this just because I'm hoping they tell us something. I mean, they have to tell us
with 18 minutes,
right?
I think they're going to tell us a lot of things.
This has to be the first in HUD like gameplay look, right? With a month left. I mean, we don't know, but
I mean, it's really time. It's such a confusing marketing campaign to me because they've had several beats on it, but no beat has been particularly informative. It's just been sort of atmospheric trailers along the way where I don't know. I want the game to be good, and I'm getting like I guess we'll know more tomorrow after the event, because as it is, I just get a little nervous that maybe it's getting sent out to die if they're not really hyping it up at this point. But
wow, Joe, that just went dark
it's been teases and delays and everything, so I get where you're coming from, but at the same point, I think having a large segment like this strictly dedicated to the game shows that I don't know about that. We'll see.
It's a good sign, and it's Sucker Punch Productions, and like I said, like I want it to be good. I have faith in that developer, but it's hard to not scratch your head a little bit about this approach of how can we be so close to the game's release and know so little about it.
That's fair,
but that's going to change very soon. So
you're right. I think gamers get suspect over time. Right. Like when there's large spaces, we start to go, what's up? And we tend to go maybe towards the like, something must be wrong kind of direction. But I'm with you. I mean, I want to know. I mean, I want to be excited about what that means in July. You know what I mean? But it has been weird that like they don't tell us anything about Last of Us 2, but we don't really want them to tell us anything about Last of Us 2. They're like, it's part 2. You liked the last one. Okay, I'm good. There is no previous Ghosts for us to like reference, right? And so it's there's just a big vacuum of information. So we'll do that tomorrow. Yeah. As always,
today
please,
we're doing it today.
Today we're doing it. I'm lost in time.
It's already happened.
Yeah,
it's already happened. They're probably both going to hit around the same time. By the way, they'll probably both be available pretty much around the same time.
Yeah. So look for that today.
Yeah, tell me how stupid I was.
Within minutes. Yeah.
Oh, so boy. That's just all the content we're doing for you. So thank you for listening. So and also if you have any questions, podcast at GameInformer.com. I love to read your comments. I read them every Wednesday morning. If you have any Kiss, Marry, Kills or GI Town suggestions, please send them along. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let's start with this week. May 11th through the 13th in 1995 was the very first E3. And I think this is just worth bringing up because, well, E3 this year is canceled, which has been, at one point there was a Dan Predicts where he's like, it's done for. And he was right. Within the week, it was gone. We've seen so many shows canceled. But we look at, that's 25 years if my math is halfway decent. On E3. And it's just kind of interesting to look back. I mean, E3 at the time really, I think, changed a lot of things as far as the way games were going. But it has been interesting to see the change because without GDC, we've kind of fallen into these next generation reveals that have been, I think, both disappointing and exciting and disappointing and underwhelming, right? All at the same time, I think, as we try to deal with these events in a digital format, just like this podcast. It's been interesting. Do you guys have any, like, what's your favorite E3 moment? Does E3 recover? You know what I mean? Was that it?
Oh, God.
Was it over?
This is scary questions. Does E3 recover? I don't want to do a Dan Predicts on this because I want it to recover. So if I do a Dan Predicts, I don't want to jinx it. I think
I like that you believe everything you predict comes true, and you're scared to make that prediction.
That's right. Yeah. This year is going to be very telling for the future of E3, in more ways than one. Because when companies look at doing these things digitally and over the course of months, rather than one extreme burst, over time, they're going to say, "Well, check out our analytics, check out our engagement, look what's going on here." Look at all these pre-orders, look at all this interest, look at all these things that we can identify and use our big data sets to say, well, you know what? we did all this in house and it cost a lot less than E3, guys. What do you guys think? Are we going to go buy that space? Are we going to go, get into the fervor of E3 and send everybody out there and do all these other things? I think at the end of the day that the pocketbook is going to dictate some changes there. Unfortunately, because I think the numbers are going to be great for the digital events. Because everyone's at home.
Yeah.
So there's there's a whole it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy from an analytical standpoint here.
Well, let me ask you this question then, Dan. Would you make the same prediction about Gamescom, which is also going to not happen this year, but have a digital event? But that one typically focuses on consumers.
Correct.
So you think that one's probably fine, or at least on the same boat?
I mean, it's not. There's no way it happens this year, but. They already canceled, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But I think again, we're talking about a consumer show, and I think that does live on. There's always going to be a call for those consumer events, especially one of the foot traffic of that nightmare. Great show, but that is just it's like being in a mosh pit with a bunch of angry gamers. Pretty crazy. Pretzels and beer everywhere, flying in the air. It's packed. It's an intense event, but it is packed, and I think. That and the PAXs and all these other more consumer-driven events are in a much better space to live on, whereas E3 now is going to have to justify itself as a industry event, which again, I don't want to lose that. My first E3 was amazing. I think everybody's was, and I think it was always sort of an industry rite of passage, for lack of a better phrase, right? It's always like, I just got to go to my first E3. Like poor Alex over here, right?
I've sang my song many a time on this podcast. I wasn't going to bring it up, but yeah.
How was your first, Alex?
Like E3, it's just a magic and valuable industry event, I think, and it's going to suck if we do lose it to numbers, which is essentially what could beat it this time around.
Yeah, Joe.
Well, so what I keep thinking about with it is just like what a sad time it is for it to be happening. Or for the digital events to be rolling out the way they are, because I think when you're dealing with the launch of new hardware, that's the time when a show like E3 in its former glory was really at its best.
Yeah.
Instead of dealing with a slow trickle of different announcements and games, you just had this huge impact crater of hype and enthusiasm where everyone was pulling back the curtain on big announcements day after day after day, which for us as press was difficult to cover and was a lot of work. And I think on the publisher developer side made it easy for your game to get lost in the shuffle. So I'm not saying that that's ideal from a business perspective, but just when it comes to when I think about my feelings around E3, every year I am never as excited. Well, that's not the right way to say it. I get the most excited about games every year around E3. You just get there. It's the sense of community. You're around the people who are passionate like you are about this stuff, and just a bunch of new stuff to look forward to. And I think having that sort of spread out over the summer and fall is just going to feel a little anticlimactic.
It loses some of the electricity. Yeah. There's definitely, I know, it's funny, given the quarantine, I'm with you, Joe. In the past, just to be clear, I dread going to E3 till I get to E3, right? Even when I land in LA and I'm like, oh, a long week of E3, I'm not going to sleep, I'm not going to eat, there's going to be a lot of cool games, I'm excited about that, but I don't know if this is just, does E3 need to be there? And then I get in the cab and I arrive at the hotel and I walk in and I see oh, look who's here. Hey, what's going on? Oh, let's go to there. And then I go to my first event and I'm like, everybody's here. Oh my gosh, that game was so cool. And it just switches, right? And then I'm energized and ready to go for that whole week and ride the ride, right? It's just all of a sudden I'm just energized and ready to go. And there's something to that. You know what I mean? I don't wake when someone's like, I've got a special online show this morning. Can't you wait? I'm like, I can wait. Right. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that same thrill. When you just sit in your pajamas and watch it, as those other events have. So I think you're both right. I think there's so many things that could happen with E3.
And I think real events are just screwed for the next couple, maybe even next couple years.
There could be
that the real life events. And I think they're going to come back. Whether E3 does or not, I don't know. I have doubts, and that sucks. Honestly, I love E3 a lot, and
Well, I mean,
that,
and
that electricity you can't capture with this other stuff.
I pointed this out on a previous episode too, but I think it's important to not forget that even prior to all of the COVID stuff, E3 was struggling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like people were dropping out of that show. Oregon, like people who were set, was it I Am 8-Bit was going to be doing some sort of help with organizing
Making it more
and
fun, yeah.
And before it was canceled, all of that was already happening. So it's not like, oh, good, the pandemic is lifting, now we can go back to E3 as it was, because like that was already a dodgy proposition.
Yeah. What I think about, it's funny when I think about what's my earliest E3 memory. I actually don't have an earliest E3 memory. What I have a memory of is CES. So CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, was where video games went before E3 existed, right? So one year we were in a tent. Like everyone else was in the convention center. Video games were in a tent, like basically to the side of it. And, I remember running around there with Reiner. Reiner had blue hair and it was like kind of crazy. We had some good times back then, but 1 year it rained and there was a river of water running right through the middle of the video game tent that was in a parking lot next to where all, the real electronics, the real entertainment were in that building, right? And the video game industry was upset. We were upset. We were like, really? Video games? And I know this is a different time, but like, it was definitely we get no respect. I can't believe we get no respect. This is ridiculous. This is the future of entertainment. And we're in a tent with a river running through it. And that was the moment, right? In my mind, that I think everyone saw that something had to change. And that's where E3 came up and emerged and changed everything. And I mean, like I said, I don't have an early E3 memory, but I do remember going, we deserve this, right? Video games deserve our own show. This is an important step to the future of games. So on May 11th, 1995, when that first E3 happened, it was an important part of video game history. It was an important part of games moving forward as a medium and getting the respect that it deserved then and deserves now. So how's that for a little diatribe? What up?
Okay, I loved it.
Good rant.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Can we get more of those? Can I order those online with a click?
This show has the unfortunate problem of this whole, there's going to be a big, long Andy talk for Unreal, which I think some listeners like. Others are going to be like, McNamara, shut up and ask more questions. So we'll get another one. We're not done for this.
We're here to talk. It's a talk show.
It's a talk show. So speaking of other events, though, there is some of the things I thought were worth notice or bringing up to you was Ubisoft is going to have a digital event that's planned for July 12th. So that's a little bit further away, but I think we're all excited about Ubisoft. I know everyone, and it's been Valhalla. The talk has been crazy for Valhalla. EA Play is now planned for June 11th, so that's not too far away. And that's still kind of close to E3. We still don't have too much news from Sony, but Xbox did say that in July they would show their first-party games. That'd be our first glimpse of things from like Double Fine, 343, etc. So that's good news. So there's definitely things happening in this kind of new no E3 world, COVID-19 world.
The no E3 might work out for E3 in the end, because I think all this stuff's going to be kind of like scrap dash in terms of what it would be in terms of production, because everyone's doing it from home, right? All these productions are being cut up and made from home instead of a highly choreographed world reveal, right? Mm-hmm. So they got to staple these things together with a little duct tape.
They definitely are, but I gotta say this. Sometimes, I'm not trying to make fun of Microsoft here, but Microsoft, I was like, you guys could get better cameras to your people and some lighting for a big, giant reveal of your gameplay.
There's a lot to talk about there.
I mean, I get it. The Game Informer show, yeah, we didn't spend a lot. Shocker, right? Okay, GI's cheap, right? I get it. I understand it. But Microsoft, you know what I mean? That's next level. I think there's an expected that we can get away with stuff that maybe they could, but maybe they want it to feel a little we're
in this together.
We're in this together.
Don't you want to see my refrigerator, Andy?
Yeah. But I mean, like, I think there are better ways to do it, right? I mean, I think there are levels to do it. So I think there's some fair criticism there. But yeah, it'll be fun to get more glimpses into more game developers' homes.
I mean, yeah, and it really, like, from somebody who's already seen the glitz and glamour year after year, you know, for decades, really, like, it's kind of interesting to watch the more rogue guerrilla, you know, cast from like, hey, you know, I'm just hanging out in my study. It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Tim Sweeney with like the electro ball on the side.
Yeah. The Tesla ball, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I will admit, like, when you see, like, you're like, I get to look into Tim Sweeney's home. I definitely am, like, looking at all the stuff in the background, trying to see what I can see. I mean, I know it's horrible of me. I'm totally doing it. I'm sure everyone else is.
Documents out on his desk that you can sneak a peek at.
He had 2 thick, like, binders in the background. I want to know what's in there. He's got secrets in there.
That's the code for Unreal. Just, like, print it out, you know? So,
because that's how programming works.
That's how programming works. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about a game. You guys are like, don't talk about E3 anymore. Well, I got news for you. We're talking about Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remastered. So Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is coming out this year. They have a release date of September 4th by Vicarious Visions. So it's the first 2 games updated to like 4K graphics. It's exciting. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was excited to see that. I used to love Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. 3 was one of my favorites. But I'm just thrilled to get a chance to play them again. They're actually remodeling the characters. So like, I think they look like they do today. So like Tony's not going to look like young Tony. He's going to look like 20-year-old older Tony, as well, all the skaters, which I think is a cool twist.
Huh. And they're going to fall over a lot more often.
Like, my hip.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the original games came out in 1999 and 2000 by Neversoft. And I'd like to point out, I loved you, Neversoft. You're so great. You know, like, I loved the work you did with it. And another guy I missed, Joel Jewett. I just want to give a shout out to him. He was so fun. He was a great leadership for that group. And, you know, working with him and all the old Tony Hawk games was a lot of fun. I'm going to pull, Reiner wrote up a thing on the website that I thought was interesting. And I want to read this. This isn't the first time Activision has tried to bring the fire back to the Tony Hawk gaming brand. In 2012, developer Robomondo released Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC, and it wasn't warmly received, being viewed as a step down from the original games, both in technical performance and the vision of the new content that was added. First of all, I agree with that. I don't even remember that thing. Like, it just was a blip, right? Activision again partnered with Robomondo for 2015's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, which was so bad it appeared to be the final nail in the coffin for the Tony Hawk games, which I think is where we were at when they announced this earlier this week. We were like, man, Tony Hawk's gone, but this is a way to our heart. I feel like a remaster of 1 and 2, done well, fun. Like, the gameplay stays true to the original. I'm excited about that. How about you guys? Joe, you excited for that?
I'm feeling okay. I want to start off by saying I loved Tony Hawk 1. Like, that was a college dorm room standby. I played that game constantly.
That warehouse is so good.
Yep.
Oh man, and that Goldfinger song.
Yes.
So, but at this point, like you mentioned, I feel a little bit like Charlie Brown kicking the football that Lucy's holding with this, right? I mean, like, because you're right. When you say, or like classic Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remastered, done well, fun, like, I'm on board. I like that. But I still don't know if they're going to be able to do it after that Pro Skater HD, which kind of sounds like this. You know, it sounds like that's kind of what they were trying to do there. If they can mess that up once, I don't know. I feel like I need to see more and know more before I sort of stop guarding my heart and really like let myself get fully excited for it.
For sure.
Yeah, Activision did do some recent things with like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon that were well executed and well received. So I mean, they have done a good job recently where they have executed better. So there's some hope there. I just wanted to bring that up as a quick note.
And
Alex, you have some thoughts on Tony Hawk?
Yeah, I was just going to say too, I could be wrong. Comments will for sure correct me. I think this studio did the Crash remake, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can fact check me on that. But regardless, I feel you, Joe. I want these games to be good because I love them too. The Warehouse demo was like all I played when my dad first was like, all right, here's my computer, play a game on it. You know, I'm hoping they learn from their past mistakes. I think they know. I'm hoping this is an olive branch saying we know last two entries have not been good. The last decade has been rough for Tony Hawk and skating games. And this is our olive branch to say, hey, we took this seriously. This is like what you guys want, and we're gonna see, you know, is there more interest for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3? Is Tony Hawk Underground on the table? Is there a new IP coming? You know what I mean? Like, I think this could be that if it's executed well. And so far, nothing to me says it can't be. It's a harsh reality knowing that we probably won't have Spider-Man or Darth Maul in the games, because I think
but that's part of what
possible.
I mean.
It's possible.
I think that they need to do that.
Yeah.
Shell out the money and get those.
That'd be
because
nice.
like I think capturing those secret characters and stuff, that's a huge part of what people connected with in those games.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, no, I agree, but I can't picture them going to Disney and Disney going, all right, we'll see you later, giving you Darth Maul. You know, like, I hope that they surprise us in that one, and I'm curious to see what music actually comes back, because they were kind of guarded on how they announced that. So.
They were, but they put up a list of bands that were like in the original, so there's a lot of hope. I think that they can put together a good soundtrack. I mean, at one point, the Tony Hawk games, they were killing it on soundtracks, right? It's just a question of whether they invested in it or not. It looks to me, to your point, like they're investing in this. I think they do have something to prove. And Activision, I know you're watching because everyone watches the Game Informer show, but this is a fair warning. Don't screw this up. You got it? Do not screw this up, or it's over. It should have been over before, but we're giving you one more chance.
Now the executives are like, oh no, we were going to screw this up. What are we going to do now?
Yeah, they're scared. The Game Informer show's on them.
Yeah.
On them. We're on them. They're not going to get away with this again. So another thing, too, was just in the remastered front is, there was a rumor going around about Mass Effect. Speaking of remasters and EA.
Was that a rumor? I thought somebody actually wrote it somewhere.
And there was a report that it was real from the financial reportings.
Yeah.
I can't remember what site it was.
It was
Venture
Jeff,
Beat,
Jeff Grubb, I think, was the one who'd said that it's, he said it's Mass Effect, but there's no official
still in the rumor phase, right?
Exactly.
I would say it's still a rumor, but I mean, it's a good rumor.
It's a great rumor.
We love rumors. We love rumors.
Huh.
I have an image saved on my computer that I bring up every November for N7 Day. That's from Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin, of Linus sitting there in the pumpkin patch waiting for that remaster. And of course it never comes. Year after year, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
But I'm getting it ready again for that EA showcase in June because I'm getting my hopes up.
I think this is your year.
It has to be, right?
I mean, we love remakes. We love remakes. It's on the wind. It's happening.
Yeah.
Dan predicts. Done.
Well, it's out. It's out now.
It's done. It may as well already be out.
I mean, they also pointed to, I think in one of those other EA moments, was they mentioned that they were going to be, they were going to do some more games for Switch, which I think, I immediately put together, I think like anyone else, which was like, man, I'd really like Mass Effect redone on Switch.
Yeah.
That would be pretty great. So
it's going to be like Plants vs. Zombies.
Oh, don't say that.
Joe, right now, we're just living our dreams. You don't have to come in and just poop all over them, right? Like we're just.
I'll just cover my webcam.
Hey, if it's OG Plants vs. Zombies, that's a good start. Love that first game. Yeah. Here's my. I know we want to keep moving, but my only worry with the remake is from that article. It sounded like it's not a Final Fantasy VII level remake. It sounded like more of a remaster. And I guess this is pie in the sky what I want, but like I would love if they just took the combat out of everyone and just had that same structure. You know what I mean? And I don't know if we're gonna get that if it's just a graphics boost.
Yeah, I mean that's the dream, but that's also a new game.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, I think if you were to ask, I think there's a level of like ideal versus acceptable on in terms of what a Mass Effect remaster might look like. And I think the ideal is what you're talking about.
100%.
Fans who want maybe a more consistent skill and combat system across all three games.
Just turn them all into one game.
But I would also be, you know, like that's ideal. I think at the acceptable level is just all of the content, make it look really good, and put like all the DLC bundled together and have it so you can just flow from one game into the next on current gen systems or next gen systems.
Yeah, definitely. Is that enough? Because Joe, you're the biggest Mass Effect fan I know. Is that enough for you? Like, would that satiate you for the next however many years until another Mass Effect comes out?
I mean, I'd replay it. It's not what I mean. Like I said, my ideal is something a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But that's also a thing that would just take, like, you can't trivialize the amount of effort it would take to rebuild 3 of the biggest games from, you know, the last generation.
Definitely.
So
yeah. No, Joe, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's be super hard. That'd be great to see that kind of dedication from EA and BioWare to make that, right? But it is essentially going to be a lot of work and kind of to some degree making one new game from the content that was in those 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you. I would love for them to just standardize the combat systems and all those things throughout, but you know, that is asking a lot.
It is.
We shouldn't be mad. We shouldn't be mad if they come out and they say it's just a remaster, it looks better and here it is. We shouldn't be angry.
No.
You know what I mean? Like we shouldn't be angry.
Yeah. I will be happy with that, but I would be ecstatic if they were going further.
And that's the thing.
I mean, I do a cartwheel that'd probably injure me in some way, but I do a cartwheel.
Don't do a cartwheel. We don't want you injured, Andy.
Sometimes it's worth the injury.
Yeah. Pad the floors, have your camera on, obviously, but you know, make sure you're safe. But that's the thing.
The video producer. Capture that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's my thing is like, that's a series that I think is worth that work, is worth putting that extra level of polish on, because I think people forget after Andromeda how seminal that series was. And that was like one of the, like we were talking about on Replay last week, where it's like that series, that and Assassin's Creed came out the same year, and we thought that was going to be it for the next 20 years, like Mass Effect, Assassin's Creed back to back to back or whatever, and it just didn't play out that way. So
and so speaking of trilogies, remakes, and I mean, like all this stuff somehow all went together, was Mafia, which they came out and put out a video that said they are working on the Mafia Trilogy, was teased for an announcement on May 19th. And in typical game fashion, a bunch of it leaked today.
Just immediately.
Just immediately, right? And the first thing that leaked was that Mafia Definitive Edition is coming August 27th or 28th, somewhere in there. We've seen both dates on the page in 2020. But they put up some screenshots that were leaked, and they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, they look great.
I mean, keep in mind, Mafia, at least on PC, originally came out in 2002. I think it was PS2 in 2004. So, like, for it to look as good as it does in those screenshots they're doing, the folks at it's Hangar 13.
Yeah,
they're doing a lot of work on that.
And they worked on the last Mafia that was out. So they have a lot of experience with the franchise now. But I will say it's called the one that leaked, by the way, is called Definitive Edition. So we have to assume that this is going to have some extra stuff in it. At least that's kind of what it seems like, that maybe they streamlined some things. But if they just did the graphics, as we talked about before, the graphics look way, way better. Which also, too, in the Tony Hawk, if you watch the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 trailer, they show old Tony Hawk, and you kind of forget how bad it used to look. And then they would like go to the exact same area in the new game, and they do look so much better. So it is crazy to look at some of these old games and where they've been. But we're definitely on a remastered kick, right? We're living a remastered kick world. And I also think there was a rumor too that someone said Skate 3 was coming as on mobile or something like that. Some skater, I think, like made some comment. So there's all kinds of, we're living in a world with all kinds of, the oldies are, the goodies are coming back.
I mean, yeah, if we're on the rumors of remakes, the Diablo 2 is also rumored to be getting a remaster or remake as well. Rumored.
Yeah, that one seems weird to me. Did we?
That one also seemed really weird to me. I'm just saying, as long as we're in this territory, it's also one of the higher profile games that's in that rumor mill of surging stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, surging stuff. We've got a lot of surging stuff.
There are people out there who complain about the industry's love of remakes, and and I don't know. I feel like, especially in the months ahead and next generation in front of us, we're going to see plenty of new games. I don't think there's anything wrong with also revisiting these old favorites that we know we love.
I think it's when we get into stuff where, like it is now, where you see so many remakes at the same time and you don't see the new stuff because it's all being held back for various reasons. That's when people like start to panic and be like, "Oh, it's all remakes." And of course, that's not true.
I can see it. I guess there's just a level of cynicism there that I don't buy into, of like, oh, it's just companies cashing in on, a lack of creativity and just feeding people what they fed them before. And like, it doesn't seem that cynical to me, because like in the case of something like a Mass Effect remaster, like I want it.
Yeah.
I want that. I want to eat that again. Feed it.
Yeah, there really is that. And well, the other thing too is that, I guess I thought, right after Mafia 3 was done, I thought they would follow it up with some kind of like extended content or something like that. I actually thought that was going to happen. The game did pretty well. I remember them announcing some pretty impressive numbers for how well that game did.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe this is just a chance to familiarize people with the franchise, right? That it's a, Mafia. I mean, as far as game name goes, that's a great name. In the video game space. Like if you've got that license, you want to invest in it. And I can understand 2K being like, hey, let's refresh everybody's memory. Let's get everybody back on board for what Mafia is. And so they can go on to make Mafia 4. Because I think the very first comment on GameInformer.com on your story, Joe, is, where's Mafia 4? Right. I understand people wanting that. But this might be a chance to make sure that when they make Mafia 4, which will be a big, huge game if they make it, right, that this is a chance to kind of bridge the gap.
Yeah, right. If they're doing it, this is a smart way to pave the way to it.
Yeah.
And Andy, something else I want to bring up. You mentioned the Mafia 1 definitive edition coming. The product page said that was the 27th or the 28th of August. But even more immediately is the Mafia 2 definitive edition product page said it was coming out next week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
So, yeah. And so we don't know anything about 3, but there's obviously some Mafia Trilogy madness coming along this summer. So that's good. I'll admit, I never really played the other games. It was one of those things that every time I got in the car, I was like, these cars are slow. Old cars are slow. But I'm excited. I'm excited about this. I think this is cool.
Yeah, it was never a series I got into, but I know former GI editor Matt Burtz really, really likes it, and Reiner really likes it too. So
yeah, so it's a great opportunity, I think, for us. What I want to talk about next was just we did a special edition. If you could listen to it, thank you, about the Inside Xbox event. And I think one of the things that was really interesting that came from that, number one, I made fun of Bright Memory Infinite, and people got in my business about that. They thought I was being unfair. There were lots of comments. Here's one from Walter Ditto that was on our YouTube page. I actually really like Bright Memory Infinite. It's a first-person perspective, the video game. And there were lots of things that just said I was too hard on the game. So maybe I was, but sometimes I'm going to make outrageous statements.
Were you, though?
Well,
this sounds like a bad apology, Andy.
The thing is, like, I think a lot of people just really wanted to see something new from Xbox. And if this is going to be their charging knight in shining armor that they can have out the gate to get behind, I think that's what they were wanting here. Whether or not that actually happened is definitely debatable. But I think people just wanted to say, here's this new thing. They've got stuff. We're ready to go. Let's do this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still stand by. I would not have, I think it came out later that like the game had featured assets taken from other games and some other things like that. And making games is hard, and trying to make game in progress and doing things like that are difficult. I'm not trying to question any of that. I I think that was part of my disappointment, which I think is echoed by a ton of people, that Inside Xbox show was a little underwhelming and disappointing, right? I think in the show itself, I think we were pretty positive. There were a lot of games I was excited about from the event, but I think it was very clear that the consumer, regardless of what I think, the consumer was disappointed.
Yeah, the
right?
interwebs weren't kind.
They were not kind. I went so far as Aaron Greenberg went out and said, had we not said anything and just shown May Inside Xbox like we did last month, I suspect reactions might have been different. Clearly, we set some wrong expectations, and that's on us. We appreciate all the feedback and can assure you we will take it all in and learn as a team, which is I'm always excited to see. I think Xbox has done a great job of being open, but that they did hear that people were disappointed. Because, literally, that was the talk going into it. It's the gameplay reveal for next generation. And we were like, those are some trailers. I think there was some gameplay in there.
Yeah.
That game looks interesting, kind of thing, as opposed to like, this is next gen.
Right. Well, and on the topic of gameplay too, remember the Assassin's Creed Valhalla trailer was presented as a gameplay trailer, and it might have been in-game footage or engine, but like it was a cinematic trailer.
Yeah. And
here I want to read something to you now.
I love this.
Ooh.
So, similarly to Aaron Greenberg's tweet, AC Valhalla's creative director Ashraf Ismail tweeted, "Hello all. You rightfully expected to see more today. We have a long marketing campaign ahead of us. You will see in-depth gameplay and get a lot more info about the game. Thank you for your excitement and passion. Be patient with us and be kind. It will be worth it." So nice. I think in the same way that Xbox and Microsoft were getting backlash, it seems like Assassin's Creed specifically was getting a lot of backlash for the gameplay that people expected more from. So.
Well, they were the showstopper. They were the ending. You know what I mean? They were the big finale, and it was like, okay, all these other things kind of screwed up, but they're not going to screw this up. And and I think we got there. So there was a lot of, I think, expectations, and I think that's the thing. Reiner wrote about it this week on GameInformer.com as well. Just like it's been tough. Our expectations have been high for next generation, and pointing to what you said earlier. Normally, we would have gone to an E3 or a GDC and been given a lot of things. Like I even saw Nick Chester from Epic Games said, like the demo that they showed for Unreal, which we're going to talk about next, running on PlayStation 5, they had planned for people to be able to control that and manipulate that in March at GDC, right? And the talk that Mark Cerny gave about PlayStation 5 that I still stand by. I really enjoyed it, but I dig those kind of GDC talks. That's definitely my realm of involvement and what I love to hear. But that too, much like this Inside Xbox, was panned, right, by the consumer. The consumer was like, this is not what I wanted. I personally, once again, found it very informative, but I understand where the consumer takes that. And I think a lot of understanding how we talk to and explain next generation to the consumer while we all work from home has been difficult, right? And not having that big flashpoint where everyone knows this is the moment where we kind of learn it all. It's really kind of made it where things like we would have gotten, I think, a lot of Valhalla all at once. And instead they're like, what do we do in this thing? Well, we give some here and we put some here and we put a dash over here and we dash some over here. And then, hold on, some Valhalla over there. And that's the way they're going to kind of do it in this time because there's so much uncertainty.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's kind of what Xbox is doing a little bit too, when they were like, hey, you're here for the gameplay reveal, but all of our games won't be until July. So it all kind of tells a larger story, I think, which brings us to today, being Wednesday or yesterday.
Yes.
Well, it all depends on when you listen to the podcast. That's so true. Just ignore me.
3 years ago.
Sometime in place, this happened, which was that this morning, in my time, in real time here on the show, they revealed Unreal Engine 5, which was a demo that was focused on two core technologies that are part of Unreal Engine 5. And one of the things that was a part of this was that this demo was running on a PlayStation 5. Now, remember earlier when I warned you that Andy was going to talk a lot? Guess what?
Here we go.
Here we go, baby. Here we go. Here it comes. Oh, I love how Joe takes his headphones off and walks away. Now would have been the time to get your jacket, Dan.
I've already got it.
It's a good like 9-minute demo, and you should watch it. I highly recommend that you watch it. The team that worked on it gives a lot of explanation on it, but I'm going to tear it down a little bit. I have some critique of it that I will share with you, but I think we should talk about those two core technologies here quickly. And in doing so, I'm actually going to read a set of just marketing material from the website that I think is going to set the table. But, it's certainly marketing materials. Remember that. You know what I mean? Like they're going to make everything sound great, right? So the first one is a nanite. So nanite virtualized micro polygon geometry frees artists to create as much geometric detail as the eye can see. Nanite visualized geometry means that film quality source art comprising hundreds of millions of or billions of polygons can be imported directly into Unreal Engine. Anything from ZBrush sculpts to photography. Oh God, I hate this word. Photogrammetry scans to CAD data, and it just works. Nanite geometry is streamed and scaled in real time, so there are no more polygon count budgets, polygon memory budgets, or draw count budgets. There is no need to bake details to normal maps or manually alter level of details. There is no loss in quality. All right. That's a lot, right? There's a lot in that thing. And I want to try to like break them down a little bit for everyone, which is basically what they're saying is that they have a technology that will be streaming. This is the important thing, that like recreating any models that you put in the world in real time, they're going to turn them into essentially what you kind of see. And I'm making this really simple and kind of saying Z buffering kind of thing in a weird sense. It's an old technology, but like take things that are high geometry, turn them all into something that's smaller set so it still looks the same in real time to display them, so that you can put in large statues, which they show in this demo. They show a statue that's got a ton of triangles, and they're like, it's not a big deal because we're just kind of streaming that in. And they feel that using technology like the improved streaming from solid state drives is going to make it where you can get those things to your screen better and faster. So it's very confusing, right? It's what you need to remember is that it's geometry that is streamed and scaled in real time. Those are the real important things about this technology, that it takes all the other elements, streams them and scales them in real time, and then you see that in game, right? So that's one. Lumen is the next one, which is a fully dynamic global illumination solution that immediately reacts to scene and light changes. So basically, it's like global lighting that when like in the demo, there's a part where like a rock falls through the ceiling and light breaks in, sun that's set up by them, changes the whole scene. That dynamically the scene went from being dark or having light sources in her hands to being fully illuminated. So those are the two really big things that are happening there. And there's more to Lumen in that like a lot of times game developers use things like normal mapping or pre-rendered lighting on objects, right? So you think this object is lit a certain way, but it's not lit in real time. It's actually just embedded into the texture that you see. It's the trickery that they use when they make games, right? Like when you make a game, you have a huge budget, right? You're like, how are we gonna fit this in here? And then as you start filling it up on how you make your game, your budget all of a sudden becomes short. So you try to figure out how to make shortcuts to make your game still look great and run great and do all the frame rate things that we want, but work, right? So you find these tricks, and a lot of times those tricks are using lighting, being predetermined, normal mapped level of detail, which is, as anyone knows, that's like taking something that's super detailed and keep moving it down until it looks as good as it could compared to the original, but scaled down to fit within your budget when you're making your game. So those are the two major things that they're showing here. So a lot of things about this demo are interesting because as it starts off, they talk about assets, right? This, by the way, this thing is full of Epic talking about Epic things, right? Like they talk about Quixel, which is an asset, a company that they purchased a while back that lets them bring in like movie level assets. And they point out that in the first area, they're like, these are movie level assets. Look how easily we brought them in and used them to make this demo. Games are easy. And it's, I think, a little misleading because it's like, well, you happen to have movie level quality assets available to use there. Now, obviously, I know that's a service that Epic is offering, but it's not always as easy as that, right? Like you just bring in movie assets and whammo, you got yourself a game. But it is important to note that they are showing and displaying a lot of polygons. And there's a moment where it kind of goes to a screen where it does look like white noise, and they go like, that's not white noise. That's just literally how many triangles you're looking at the same time. And they're so down to how small they are as scale, as pixels, that they're really hard to see. And then that shows too how Lumen has to then light everything on a per pixel level, which is pretty impressive, right? That's all pretty impressive. I mean, like that's impressive technology. And I think given our earlier talks, that's the kind of stuff, if you're into those kind of things, is very, very impressive, right? But I want to move around a little bit. And this is talking about an interview later that Keeley did with Tim Sweeney, the CEO. And I think this is something really important that he started off that conversation with. That he said, this is a generational leap or more in technological capabilities. And it really is. Now, that said, everyone who watches this demo, I feel like, should watch it with a grain of salt, right? Like, demos are demos. They're not immediately like how you're going to play the game.
Like Killzone 2.
Like Killzone 2. Like anything that we've seen over time. Now, that said, we should get excited. Here's the next thing he said that I thought was really pretty important. He said, the hardware that Sony is launching is absolutely phenomenal. Not only an unprecedented amount of graphics power, but also a completely new storage architecture that blows past architectures out of the water. And it's far ahead of even the state of the art in the highest end PCs you can buy. And what he's saying here is that the technology that Sony wants to use as far as like streaming quickly from mass storage to quickly get that to your screen is what enables some of these things to take place. Now, Epic is very clear that Unreal Engine runs on all the platforms, and a lot of these things will be available. This is not to say that the PlayStation is just great. He's pointing out that the PlayStation does have a very quick and that's what they leaned into with the PlayStation 5, was making sure that their I/O, as far as getting things from storage to on your screen, was really important to the way that they made their system. But that's not to say that these things aren't impossible on Xbox Series X. So please, let's not do this. I've said this before. People still go and say I'm a homer for one or the other. Please, none of that. It's an interesting technology, and showing that by using storage and fast storage, it is going to enable games that look like this demo, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys excited about this demo? Did you watch the demo this morning?
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I enjoyed the demo. I'm not going to get hype until it's in people's hands. That's just how it is for me. And that's got nothing to do with the technology. I think it looks great. Showing it is one thing. Having it in front of you and playing it, doing it, and seeing these things come to life in real time as you're doing things, I think is the game changer for me. So I'll be excited then. Planning to be excited.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that struck me as watching that, though, and Andy, I think you did a good job breaking down the information in that presentation, but unless you're sitting there watching it for yourself, you don't see just how good that all looked.
It did look really good.
It looked amazing. And I think that for me, it put to bed any reservations I had or maybe misconceptions about the fact that, like, well, we all know that graphics have gotten about as good as they can get, and the next generation is, maybe going to be a marginal improvement. I think if you watch that, if it's true, if and when those visuals come to pass, like, I think it's more than an incremental improvement. I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah. It really does. And it shows, I think, that when time is given, when titles that are able to have that investment from the development studios at that level, which, by the way, a lot of these things, this is only AAA developer realm. Like, not everyone's going to make games that look like this, but for the people working at that top end, these are things that are available to them. Alex, what did you think of the demo?
Well, I had two thoughts. And it goes back to the demo looked incredible, and I'm all in, and I'm hoping that is representative of what we're going to see from next gen. I don't know if this is a marketing perspective. I don't know if it's consumer perspective, what do you want to call it, but like on last week's Inside Xbox chat that we had, my main takeaway was there's some good stuff here. I'm whelmed, but nothing here said to me that this is the next generation. Whereas today I said, okay, this shows something only next gen stuff can do. And I think that's a huge win for for that show. I think it's a huge win for PlayStation, and especially in a time where people are starved to see something like that. I think it confirms kind of what we've talked about too, where it's like, and it furthers what Joe said too, where it's like, because we talked a lot about how I always thought next gen wasn't going to be the next step in graphics. It was, how do you fill these worlds? And if that demo's any sort of real, we get both in the highest like level. But like, if that tech is available to smaller indie publishers too, who can fill their worlds even more and create their own style, they don't need to be that hyper realistic, then I think we are in for a really fun time the next 10 years or however long this cycle goes. So as we've been there before, I mentioned Killzone 2 and Jess, but like I'm excited to see if this is kind of the actual start to what next gen looks like compared to what we saw last week. Then I think things are going to get exciting very quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, I'm sorry to interrupt, but to your point that, they did show and talk about how they're going to try to make it easy to move games from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, that's important to Epic, which is great. I mean, I do think Epic really does have game developers in mind, and that they want productivity to be used at its best, that the artists won't have to spend time doing level of detail. I mean, this is what they're imagining to us, by the way. I don't know, for some game developers, they'll be like, we're still going to do all the tricks. We're still going to do all the things to maximize what they're trying to do. I'm sure someone out there is going to be like, that's great. We're not going to do that because we're pushing the envelope, and to push the envelope of how far and hard the CPU and GPU can be pushed, we're going to make our own trickery and magic to make it push forward. But it is a great, baseline to go forward from. And I love it when I think Tim said, like, build assets once and use it everywhere, which, like, that sounds great, right? But I'm sure, it's not that simple necessarily. And he's kind of like, hey, make your game on Unreal Engine 5 and put it on multiple platforms like mobile and Android and my phone. They don't just like fall out the other end, right? You know what I mean? It takes effort and work. And I think that's something important that gets talked about not enough, is that please don't let this make game development sound easy, or that you just throw some objects in there and it's all done, because that is simply not the case. It's just saying that they're trying to make productivity clearer, easier for developers and artists. And that's an important goal, and great for game development and great for creativity, right? So I think you're right on in that point, and I wanted to follow that up with that. And Joe, you seem to have a comment as well.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is I saw something on Twitter, and I wish I remembered who posted it so I could give them credit. But in the wake of that demo, they posted the Unreal Engine 4 demo, the elemental one that was like a big fire elemental and some big ice elemental, a lot of like flashy particle stuff, a lot of lava mountains and stuff like that, which I remember seeing that when it first got revealed and having very similar discussions to what the discussion we're having right now. The idea that, okay, look, Epic can make something that looks like that. It's their software. They know how to use it. What are the odds we're going to see games that look like that? And maybe we didn't right out of the gate with Unreal Engine 4. But I mean, if you look at in general AAA games now, I think do look like that or better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, when I saw those early demos, I did not think I was going to see God of War. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I did not think I was going to see Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which, like I said, I've been replaying it. There's times I get up on those vistas and I'm like, I've been in that building. No. Oh my God, I can't believe it's running. Look at all the lights. Oh my God, the day-night cycle in this game is redonk. Like I was riding across the plains, and like the like lightning hit, the storm was rolling in, and I was just I was impressed, man. I mean, I just like, sometimes I just go like, the technical feats that are possible with these development teams, and with this kind of technology like Unreal Engine 5, it's believable. I think you're totally right, Joe. Like, it is totally believable, but everyone wants it to be tomorrow, right? Like, I want to wake up tomorrow and be like, well, I mean, that means the very first game that comes out on my Xbox Series X or my PlayStation 5 is going to be this. And it's just not. It does take time, but it is an interesting view of the future.
Mm-hmm. I do have one more worry that we haven't talked about yet. And maybe, Andy, this is something you can quell for me. In the era where Call of Duty Modern Warfare is 200 gigs on your hard drive, I'm kind of terrified of the install sizes that all these games are going to present, if especially in the AAA space. Is there a way, is like compression gonna help these? Like, are we gonna have to have 10 terabyte hard drives to like hold all of our games going forward?
I mean, they talk about, I mean, they all use, you know, some kind of compression to try to manage the way that they do that and manage like assets that are being pre-set up to be ready to be used, to be set up to, you know, move to RAM or other things like that to be used in a particular scene in a game. So those are all taking place. But yeah, I don't know how to alleviate those those. I mean, I think, you know, for me, this demo, I think was nice, right? I'm excited about a next generation still. And I still say this, this is cool. I still dream of a world without hardware. I'm still very pro cloud as a future. I'm still very pro. I want to see more innovation in AI. I want to see more innovation in machine learning and the way that games interact with me, right? Because that is my one rip on this demo, right? Outside of this, right? And by the way, with cloud, you don't have to worry about how big the install is, right? You know what I mean? Like I've pointed out, having the Stadia for me, when I go in and I look around and I'm able to like hop between games in like 3 seconds, or be like, oh, I got a new game and I can hop right in and play it, is so cool and convenient. I want that to be a future for us all, right? I've seen everyone go like, oh, I've got this game, I got the code, I'll play it in 2 hours, right? I think that's all weird, and I think that's a weird thing we let ourselves deal with. So I'm excited about that in the future. And I'm excited for Unreal Engine 5 or Unreal Engine 6 to do a lot of things to take advantage of data centers and what they can do and offer to make our game experiences better. Maybe they'll get to that later. But one of the things about this demo is they were like, this is the future. The world of loading screens is over, was a quote from Tim, right? But yet, in this demo, right, there's a part where they're walking along and they point out, they're like, you know, the improved audio, improved physics, and how great the textures are and everything like that. And it's all being recorded on a PlayStation 5 dev kit. They were like, we did this with a controller. We plugged into a cable into the back, and we captured this footage. All impressive. All very, very impressive. But then they go, this improved audio, all of this adds to a more immersive experience, right? Look at this. And then immediately the character goes between 2 rocks and does that shimmy load screen that we've all seen a million times, right? Like the super long elevator you sit in while like someone loads a level. You know, I'm like, those are old tropes a little bit to me. Like the character just walking through a world and jumping, like looking like Uncharted. While this demo looked next gen, I would have loved to have seen more gameplay that felt next gen, that like AI or like other things could have maybe brought, right? Like basically you walk up to a pedestal and it says like push X to interact with pedestal, right? Like that, all the like kind of prompts, I think were just kind of like there to show that they had prompts, but it felt like very streamlined to me. Like even at the moment when you go fly at the end, like I don't think anyone's controlling that flying scene. That flying scene is you jump off the edge and then like running on the side, barely dodging all that stuff. I don't think anyone was controlling that, in my opinion.
I don't know. I don't know what you want. Like they're doing a presentation to show off like a next gen engine and visuals and how things, you know, it's like, I don't think that they came out of this saying this is next gen game design.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I guess I just feel like in those other demos that they've done, they've shown like how lighting or like, you know, using like physics and other things like that have changed the way games could be. But like all the physics examples that were there and like lighting examples were all things that I think we've seen in modern games. Like I feel like they've showed other things that have been how technology can change the way we interact with games.
Right. And that's going to be big, I think, not this gen, probably the gen after this, but like, you know, I'm talking about crazy stuff like neural links and stuff like that, where you won't even need a controller, man. You can just control it with your mind.
I mean, you know, like
this sounds crazy, but you watch.
I mean, I think games have moved forward a lot, and I'm excited to see where games are going to go. And you're right, Joe. I mean, you're totally right. You can throw stones at me. I get worked up over stuff I shouldn't get worked up over. That's very clear. Anyone who's like, if you're just tuning into the whatever 26 or 27 episodes of this podcast I have been on, maybe the reason I haven't been on a podcast before or hosted a podcast before is that I get bugs up my butt and I go down them and I get on heels and I'll die on them, right? Like,
but that's great. bugs up the butt is like that's the subtext for this podcast, right? It's great. It's amazing.
I think, Andy, I think your position would make more sense if they'd presented that demo as a game. But I mean, they specifically clarified afterwards, like, this is not a game. This is not a game in development. It's a playable thing to showcase this tech. But
you're totally right.
It's not a game.
I'm just saying, in my tech demos, I want to see what I'm dreaming of, Joe. I'm not dreaming that like they made a better looking Uncharted, right? My dream is that the games are moving forward and different, right? And I think Tim talks about it later. He goes like, Battle Royale wasn't possible until we got bigger technology where you could have 100 players fighting each other at once, and that's what caused that innovation, right? That ability to move forward. He's right? And that took time, and it obviously took using of that kind of technology to get there. And I don't expect them to like show up and go like, here's 1,000 players, blah, 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 necessarily kind of thing. I guess I was just looking for, I feel like there's other innovations happening in the game space that are just as important as how many polygons we put on screen. And that this particular demo just focused on good lighting, good graphics, and how they, and how everything looks. And I'm really concerned about, and I loved the conversation that people have had a lot lately of like, I kind of liked the tempered expectations on graphics that you mentioned earlier, that we did have to think more about how games were being made. We had to think more about how the interactions and things that games did were better. I think I would be bored if this next generation was just better graphics. How about that?
And I should say too, I want to see all those things that you're talking about. I want to see those too. I just did not expect Epic to show me those today in a demonstration of its engine.
Yeah, okay. I'm an asshole. I got it, Joe. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks. Make me the bad guy. I'm supposed to make you the bad guy. You're normally the bad guy. Otherwise, by the way, I thought it was a great demo today. Definitely inspiring, I think, to see those kind of things. I just wanted more. Do you know what I mean? Like I think there were moments where they were like, look at the water, and I was like, the water's okay, right? Look at us, procedurally climb the stairs, and I was like,
look at the water has got to be one of those mainstays, of gameplay demos since the dawn of time. You will never have a demo where you don't walk in there and like the PR guys, first thing he mentions, hey, yo, look, see the water?
Look at this water. There's water.
Yes, man. I can see the water. Yeah. Thank you.
So, that kind of, those are things that that I noticed too. And I also noticed things like too, when they're like, look at this model. It's got 33 million triangles. And now the artist has less work. I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work to me for the artist, right? Like that, I think things are always oversimplified in these things. I maybe catch on to them and they annoy me, and maybe I'm just me. But super interesting. And like I said, it was all running on a PS5. It looked like they were controlling the movement, jumping, doing some of the climbing and things like that. There was a lot of things that were definitely super impressive, and you can see how they could apply to our games as they are today. I'm just really hopeful that we continue to evolve as a group in the games that we make.
Yeah, it was great to see. And I think that the PS5 thing, like you said, I think that's actually like we're saying the quiet part loud kind of thing. Like that was our first PS5. Like, we're watching it run on a PS5. That was like the bonus. Not only do we get to see this incredible new thing, but we're seeing it running on next gen hardware. Amazing.
And especially if this is just the tip of the iceberg, like if this is preseason and we haven't even got to the big stuff yet, like I think this is a good start.
It is a good start.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the interesting thing. And we talked about this in a previous podcast, was just that trying to make these architectures where we're able to do things with data in a much faster way is a very boring and hard to look at item, to talk about or show. But it is very clear, given the excitement from game developers, that it is a thing. As I think Mark Cerny very clearly said, this is the number one thing people ask for, and that we're trying to give them, right? And while the consumer and even ourselves might have been a little disappointed in that, it's very clear that it is a tool and a technology that is going to enable that next generation of games. On all the platforms, by the way, not just PlayStation 5, just so I don't have to hear that. Andy,
Sony Pony.
Sony Pony. Sony Pony.
Oh boy, we're there. We're there.
Sony Pony. So if you're enjoying the show so far, thank you so much. Please like us, follow us, bell. the whole kit and caboodle on any podcast apps that you use. Please subscribe. We really would appreciate it. Next up, we're going to do community emails, try to see if we can answer your questions. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the first half of the show. I know I certainly did. I know I certainly screwed something up in there, and I definitely slaughtered some words. So that's the Game Informer Show. Welcome aboard. We'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Andy McNamara. We just got done talking games, talking Unreal Engine. Special call out to Epic on the reveal for Unreal Engine 5. Super exciting times in our Generation 5, new generation, next-gen talks. Always fun to have those. As they joined me before, they joined me again. This amazing panel. Let's start with Joe Juba. How you doing, Joe?
Hello, I'm doing well. Part of the eternal fellowship of the GI show.
Yeah. I like it when you guys are excited to be on the show and come back and come to answer questions. I think I know it's a little behind the scenes for anybody, but I've not managed this thing for very long, but it's funny. I'll be like, Joe, do you want to be on the show? You know what I mean? Like kind of timidly ask Joe if he'll kind of come on. I'd love to have him on. And he's like, yeah, I love doing community. And like his excitement, which getting excitement from Joe is a great thing. So it's great to have you here, Joe. It really is.
Well, thank you.
And then Dan, the Jacket Tack, how you doing?
I'm great, Andy. You know why? Because I'm looking forward to 1,000 more episodes of Game Informer. 500 is a drop in the bucket for where we're going.
That is a long way away. That is definitely a long way away. And boy, your jackets, who can imagine what jackets you'll be wearing in whatever year that would be?
He'll be wearing several jackets.
Technology that we'll get with the Unreal 5 jacket will be incredible. All right. I'll be able to upload assets from one jacket and push them into the other one.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy. Alex Stadnik, how you doing?
Yes, I'm good. This is genuinely one of my favorite parts of the week, so I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'm glad. I hope everyone at home is having a great time. We love having listeners. We love having this excuse to get together. I always like to point out, doing this show at home is always, we're going to have mistakes. We're going to have technical difficulties. So thank you for dealing with those. But also, too, I always like to take this moment to make sure everyone who out there is dealing with COVID-19, I hope you're staying safe. Everyone who's out there working on the front lines, doing anything to make our worlds possible, work from home possible, anything you're doing to keep your family safe. And I know there's tough economic times and stuff like that out there for some and not for others and things like that. But whoever you are, just a shout out to you. You're awesome. Please. We'll get through this together. We'll be back in the studio someday. We want you to be there with us. So that's a little, make sure, hearts to the community.
Yeah.
Hearts to the GI community. So let's get started. Hey, Andy, Paul, George, and Ringo. Wait a second.
Wait, who's who?
I was recently... that's an interesting question. I would say, wow, this is tough.
You could say I'm Ringo. It's okay.
Yeah. No,
okay, you're Ringo. Yeah. Okay, you're Ringo. You're Ringo.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. Like Alex being the producer in the back behind the desk, Ringo sort of doing his thing back there.
The drums.
Yeah. Well,
lovable
and
fool.
doing that accent. Yeah. Yes. All right. I was recently reading the Metacritic review of the Chris Hemsworth movie Extraction, and something caught my eye. Many reviewers from known outlets would close their thoughts with a good watch if you're in lockdown. And a review from Rolling Stone saying, take that, COVID-19, about the violence. Do you think the pandemic will affect the coming releases of games, whether it would be because of their sensitive nature, Last of Us 2, or because of the stress of the lockdown on reviewers themselves? Much love, Alexandra from Brazil. Alexandre. Let's just go with Alex from Brazil. How about that? Let's not screw that up anymore.
It's a good name.
So to clarify, the question is asking if the reviews are going to be different because of the COVID situation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to get to.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think essentially what he's asking here is that, reviewers, are we affected by COVID? Which I think I can immediately answer before even asking you guys. I mean, we're all under the heavy stress and strain of this, right? Like, there's no way to not have our worlds colored by COVID, right?
Yeah.
Joe? You're our reviews guy. You do this professionally.
No, I mean, there's no way to extract ourselves from it, and by extension, there's no way to extract our experience with the entertainment that we consume from it either, I think.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think it's true. I think there is something to that. I mean, do you, Dan, think that like when Last of Us comes out, because it's about, a virus that takes over and turns these people into zombies and all those other kind of things, can you ignore that reflection that it has like on our current society and our current situation?
I think some reviewers will lean into that and use that as talking points in the review, because it is could be more personal, I guess, to the current situation. But I think a lot of people will remove themselves from that in terms of reviewing the game. That whether or not it has impact on their experience, I don't think that's deniable. But I don't think that they'll put it in the review and be like, well, this game sucks because of COVID, or this game is awesome because it made me feel like is deeply personal to me because I can't go outside. Like, I don't think I think they're still gonna cover the game as a game. Whether or not the outside world colors that is debatable from each person to person, honestly. That's my view on it.
Yeah. Well, and something that occurs to me, and maybe I'm off base, I'm just sort of talking off the cuff here, but so when we write reviews, we generally try to avoid discussion of price point, or rather like leveraging price as a metric of quality for a game, right?
Yeah.
When it comes into the score, because that makes you ask the question like, well, okay, so this game is a 9 if it's $20, but is it a 9 if it's $60? And like value comes into it. But the idea of it sort of being tied to like an external time and place. And that's not to say that games don't talk to, culturally don't interact with their surroundings in a broader sense. But I think that it may be weird to say that a game is especially better or worse because it's releasing in this, 6-month, 9-month, whatever window that we're looking at for the pandemic,
But it could change our level of empathy to some degree, right? Like, you know what I mean? When you talk about people trapped in a world, you know what I mean? And the loss that they come across, like in these worlds, you know what I mean? Like, I think we're going to have just a lot more close hand experience to that melancholy and or just like longing, you know what I mean, that I think these games could present.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about there, and also what Dan was getting at too, is I think that there are levels of just experiential impact that you're not going to be able to get away from. But whether or not people, as explicitly as the person who wrote in mentioned, like use these as talking points in the review, because in some ways too, as someone who's written reviews for a long time, closing out a review with a thought like that isn't necessarily like, it's not, someone doesn't love or hate Extraction because of lockdown.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that culturally everyone is dealing with. So if you are, as a reviewer, trying to just like communicate with your audience in terms that are just going to be easy to understand and digest, that's a very quick touch point you can put in there that is going to be recognizable to people, almost like maybe almost like a movie quote or something,
Yeah. I do think it's interesting. I think we're going to find like, even looking at like our issue that's coming up, which I'm not going to give you any hints about, but other things like that I feel like us as writers and like just even like choosing what we talk about and how we talk about it is colored by this time. Like we'll look back at art of this era, of this time, and it will, you know what I mean? It will feel like that COVID had an effect on everything we did.
Yeah, I think that's for sure. The way I guess I'm kind of thinking about it is in terms of sometimes you can't help the lens through which you are perceiving something, but that doesn't mean that you're deliberately putting on the glasses and trying to see through that lens.
Yeah, exactly. And also too, everyone has a certain bias that's built into just everyone, right? But we try so hard to separate ourselves from them, right? And like, but it's just the reality of like of things, right? Like I don't think anyone's going to be like, this is better because of COVID, right? Like to your point, like it's not better because it's $39.99. right? Or $5.99, right? It's still like we still try to evaluate the content, but it will be hard to ignore those outside pressures.
Yeah,
it's an interesting question. Thank you, Alex from Brazil. Thank you very much.
Strong.
He
name.
said much. Yeah. He said much love too there, which I right back at you. And I love it. Brazil, that's so cool to me. Whenever I see, I don't know why I'm such a nerd. One of the coolest parts of this job is seeing emails from all over the world. It is definitely kind of crazy. And maybe people are making this stuff up and just putting it in here to entertain me. But I'm pretty sure we're global, baby. We're global.
International 502 episodes. By 1,000, we're going to be in space, baby. You understand?
Okay. Here's the challenge. Anyone who's writing a letter in to podcast@gameinformer.com, just put some crazy location that you're writing from. I don't care if you're from Minneapolis or what. I wanted you to be from somewhere exotic.
Joe, you're ruining it for me. You're just ruining it for me.
I'm trying to make it more special for you. Think about all the great places we're going to hear from next week.
Pluto.
Red.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I understand where people are going to send it in.
But someday.
Hey, GI crew. So many games these days incorporate RPG elements into their design, such as experience points, stat progression, etc., that the meaning of an RPG has become increasingly blurred. What, in your opinion, does it mean to be an actual RPG? Victor. No place listed, but let's just assume the Rings of Saturn.
Ooh,
I like it.
Yes. Yeah. Nice to have you here, Victor from Saturn. What do you guys think? I mean, I think it's something we've talked about in the past, that it's so funny. Someone will be like, I don't like RPGs. And it's like, well, guess what? It's in all your games now, right? It definitely is a thing. But Joe, you're a big RPG fan. How do you feel about these elements moving out and maybe infecting other games, or other games infecting RPGs back?
Yeah, I like it. It is the short version. When it comes, I guess for the first part of the question, what does it mean to be an RPG? I think it's first of all important to think about the fact that genres as a distinction aren't necessarily a super important thing. Yeah. It's useful for people like us when we're talking about something. It's a kind of shorthand to say oh, this is a puzzle game or an action adventure or those kinds of things. But I think, and this gets into the next part of your question, Andy, is that really what we're dealing with is between genres, there's just this two-way street all the time. They're borrowing from each other all the time. I agree that RPG elements are getting more pervasive in all kinds of different genres, but then all kinds of different genres are also working their way into RPGs more too. So I think ultimately it's good because you've just got this two-way street where it feels like a conversation between all of these great games kind of building on each other and helping them be better, whether you're a sports game, whether you're a shooter, whether you're an RPG or what. So
yeah, and I think we could tie it back into the technology talk a little bit back. I think developers back in even the NES days, or even let's even say Atari, even the earliest developers were like, I want to make a game that has the action of this and all the deep elements of Dungeons and Dragons, right? That's what I want. But technology limits me in my ability to do it. Even when we look at Final Fantasy Remake, right? They probably said, well, we want it to be a big sprawling story. We want it to go here and there. We want to have all these choices and things like that built into the game and items. So our combat has to be select this power, execute, right? It has to be, this is the way it has to be done. But in today's modern age, you can make an action game, right? That does things on the fly, and those things are enabled by that. And so they steal from other areas and bring them in and are able to mesh those different ideas into their own visions.
Yeah. I mean, take a look, sort of using the some franchises that you've mentioned, imagine something like Final Fantasy, let's say 15 years ago, or in 2007, because Final Fantasy in 2007 and Assassin's Creed in 2007. And how different they seem then. And yet, if you compare something like Assassin's Creed Odyssey today to something like Final Fantasy VII Remake today, there is the gap between those games and those experiences is a lot narrower. And I think that has to do with, the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially too. Sometimes I have this conversation, like people will be like, "Oh, I really love the role playing game Zelda," right? And I'm always like, it kind of drives me crazy in my own definition of RPG, right? But people like that they play the role of Link, that they go out there and they adventure and they do these things and they explain it to me that way, and I go like, I'll give you some points. Once again, Andy's gonna die on his own hill. But you know what I mean? Like I want more dice rolls and some other things like that to define an RPG to me. But that said, the lines are so blurred, it's so hard to tell.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
days.
So I guess I did kind of dodge the question before, because as much as I don't think that genres are necessarily useful, we do have discussions like these. Like
We do.
Let's say at the end of the year when we're trying to decide what do we do award our RPG of the year. What are some of the criteria that we use on that? I think that we use things like that there are like abilities that you are improving is something. I know, Andy, you mentioned you kind of like some sort of behind the scenes chance element, whether it's how much damage you're doing or whether or not you succeed at different tasks. Man, I feel like a skill tree is almost right away. That's a very RPG mechanic right there. I don't know what else.
I mean, like even something like we've talked about, like a Dark Souls type game, and gone like, is that an RPG? Right? And like
a lot of different factors. That one always comes up. Believe me, I know. And it's just like level ups, progression systems, that kind of thing.
So Dan, do you remember what in the past? Because it's slipping my mind now.
I mean, we've had this conversation many times.
Right.
Remember
but like,
the
what
top
in
RPGs
the past,
of all time list? Oh boy.
What in the past has made us say that one From Software game is an RPG, whereas another one isn't? Because I feel like
sometimes it's as simple as going to the fact of like, which elements are stronger in the game, the action elements or the RPG elements? Where do we classify it in terms of where it can rank in best action game of the year, best RPG of the year?
Mm-hmm.
It's come down to that before on several titles.
Or because I remember something like Sekiro is. I think we landed on
very
action.
Clearly, we landed an action game. Although it's still theoretically, does it have RPG systems? Sure, but in the battle between an action game and an RPG game, we tend to think that one sort of wins the seesaw.
And what did it lack?
Well, that one more so than the Souls games or Bloodborne, it does lack the
level
progression systems. Though it has like talent trees and unlocks and skill trees and stuff like that, it doesn't have like the stat points and level ups and stuff like that in the strict terms like the other Souls, like the other recent From Software action RPGs do.
Yeah.
But they're tough conversations.
It's blurry for us too.
Right. Yeah. As an action RPG, it is difficult to decide which bucket that one goes in when at the end of the year we have, this is the RPG bucket and this is the action bucket.
Yeah, we don't have an action RPG bucket.
Correct. So we have to decide which bucket is it going in this year, which awesome game is it going to lose to this year. Yeah. That's my life every year, ladies and gentlemen.
Great question, Victor. Really enjoyable. And you get it. It's one of these things. I hate these conversations, and I kind of like them. Right? Like I love how you can have so many perspectives and so many things that can be said about them. But it is funny. Every single one of them ends with someone leaving kind of mad.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of people have gotten used to to the arguments. They change every year though. It's great because you never know where it's going to morph and go. They mutate like a virus. It's crazy.
If you'd like to put in the comments who you think is getting mad in this conversation right now, please do so. We would love to hear your input.
No, I think it's really inside baseball, but I think it's fascinating too because we spend a lot of time talking about this stuff every year. We take it very seriously, and that line is blurred for us incredibly so too. Whereas things get complicated with these kind of definitions these days, especially for us.
It's really like talking about, is a duck a farm animal or not? You know what I mean? Like I think it's very similar. It's very similar. Very, very similar. Dear Andy and the computer loving cohorts, congratulations on your 500th episode, the 500th celebration.
That's a min-max thing.
That's a computer.
Yeah, true.
And we like the min-max people we're on. What are we interrupting here? I'm reading, folks. I'm reading.
Sorry.
The 500 celebration episode was a ton of fun, featured some great surprises, and was a wild ride. I can't wait for episode 1000. Speaking of, can we go ahead and start planning the 1000th? At the current rate, it will be released sometime in 2030, 2031. Other than a sneak peek at the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, what do you guys think will be on the agenda for the 1000th episode celebration? Can't wait. Hoping for 500 more 500th episode milestones. Best, David, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Thank you, David. And that's funny. So 1,000 is a long, long way away. But I think the important part here is thank you all for the very nice well wishes on 500. It is quite a milestone. Once again, I need to thank Ben Hansen, Matt Helgeson, Tim Turi. I literally, I said this last week, I'm such a baby on this thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big kudos to them and the work that they did and they put into it. But I love the rip on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 in there. That's why I had to get this one on. Love it. So yeah, we probably will be talking about that on episode, the 1000th episode. I mean, 1,000 episodes. Like, to Dan's jokes earlier, is it in space? Is it in, like, I feel like maybe we even like are doing it in a digital space. Like, at that point, is it just something that we put on YouTube? Is it some other different world? I mean, I think
our entire notion of the podcast could change by then. We're going to have just an interactive, experiential thing, maybe like real time. Dude,
yeah, it's going to be
the future's exciting.
It's wild.
We're gonna have
some Ready Player One, like, live studio audience type of thing. Yeah,
that's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we may still be working from home.
Stop. That's not funny. That's not funny.
I don't. If that's the case, I don't think a lot of us are going to make it.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, 1,000th episode, we will find a better host. I will not be hosting the 1,000th episode. I know people say I rip on myself. Like, that is a long way away. You know, this thing takes a lot of work. I don't know if you guys know that. This thing is stressful. 1,000? 500 weeks in a row?
You have no idea how perfect you will be by
oh my God. I will be mispronouncing names well into the new decades. All right.
Has any podcast ever hit 1,000 episodes yet?
I'm sure someone has to be doing them like daily or something. Has to have hit them. Has to have happened. Someone's a lot more aggressive than we are.
I'm sure somebody has, but the important thing is we're going to do it, and it's going to be 10 times as good as the last person that did it.
And you know, I think it's amazing. I cannot remember the number that he said, but Hansen brought up, he goes, like, with all the special editions that had happened along the way, that the Game Informer show was like in like the 680s or something like that. And we did 2 shows last week, and we're going to do 2 shows again this week.
Yeah.
So, like, we're going pretty fast at it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we counted them all, we would get there. But we are kind of keeping the, like, main episodes one at a time. But I can see it happening.
Yeah.
What if we did a show every day?
Would people?
What if we did a show every day?
Let us know in the comments. If you listen to a Game Informer show every day.
Think about that.
There it
Think
is.
about that as your future.
I'm thinking about it right now.
I just want the 1,000th episode to be just Dan, but in a black room, and he does an interpretive dance with his finger neon lights.
We can make that happen tomorrow. We don't need to wait till 1,000.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk after this recording.
Oh
my God. Oh my God. Let's get to a new question. Greetings, GI crew. Happy Shelter in Place Day. I started watching The Last Kingdom on Netflix, which is a series that loosely involves Vikings, and am loving it so far. The show Vikings, made by the History Channel, is also really good. Since Hellblade and the new Assassin's Creed involves Vikings in some way, do you and the crew think Vikings will be the new trend, like zombies or World War II was? The topic is largely untouched in gaming and movies, so I feel it could have some legs. Keep up the great work. Bryson, Los Angeles, California. Thank you, Bryson. Appreciate the question. So, are Vikings the new zombie, the new World War II? What do you guys think about this new run on Vikings, or is it new? Joe Juba.
Boy, I guess I think I need to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla before I can really talk about that, because I mean, I think it's undeniable that we have had Viking games and Norse games. I mean, the person who wrote in omits God of War, which even though it's not Vikings, is distinctly
Norse.
Yes.
Norse
Yes.
in flavor also. And so I don't think it's this thing that's kind of sneaking up on us. There are old Viking games too, but in terms of, a game that really is about the core Viking fantasy, I don't know if we've seen that yet. And I think that Valhalla maybe has the potential to be that.
Yeah. No, we can point back to, by the way, The Lost Vikings from 1992.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, the famous Blizzard game. Like, the Vikings are not new, right? They're not new to games. We've had, like, For Honor that went that way. The Banner Saga did an indie game, great one, by the way, that has a bunch of, like, Norse influences. Hellblade, I think people mentioned as having some influence from the kind of Norse area. There's a bunch of games I probably can't pronounce the right way. We've had Viking games over a lot of years. Right? It's been revisited many times. Mm-hmm. But I think the core of the question is, will we head down a path where we get too many of them? That's always possible. Because it's funny. I've made the joke. I've gone, we have too many World War II games. We have too many zombie games. Stop it. And then we just stop cold turkey. And then, like, someone brings one back and we're like, oh, finally a zombie game, right? Yeah. Like, well, I can't believe this went away. So maybe as Vikings become something that people are willing to explore and that the consumer wants, right? Because I think that's something that changes. The consumer wanted zombie. The consumer wanted World War II. If the consumer wants zombies, maybe that makes the lineup more diverse, so we don't get overwhelmed too quickly by one thing, right? Because I don't feel overwhelmed, right? Do you guys, any of you guys, Dan, do you feel overwhelmed? Alex, do you feel overwhelmed with Viking stuff?
I feel like
with Viking stuff.
Sorry, you can go down.
Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, okay. I feel like we're just at the tip of it. Like, I think right now is very much, I think the major trends I see thematically are Viking is starting. We're kind of in Samurai with Ghost and Sekiro, and then like the 3-player multiplayer stuff. But I'm totally down. I feel like as much as we've had Viking games, I don't think they've been pervasive in the culture quite yet. Like, Lost Vikings, no disrespect to Lost Vikings, but no one's like putting that on the pedestal of like,
excuse me.
maybe I'm wrong.
Wow. Are you taking shots at Lost Vikings now? Come on, man, that's really low.
Not inherent or not purposefully, but no, I feel like this is the start of what could be really cool stories, and I'm here for the Viking revolution. My football team can't do it, so might as well enjoy it in video games. So.
Yeah, so we got a lot of Viking stuff up here and a lot of failure.
Here's another question about that, though, is do you think if you have huge AAA games like God of War, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, playing in that space, does that actually have a chilling effect on other studios wanting to explore that area?
Yeah, like maybe it's a ward that says stay away.
Yeah. I mean, like, how do you, like, if you have studios that are that big and that well funded, do you even want to be compared to them versus, well, let's like try something else in a different, more unique setting?
Yeah.
Right. And these worlds are like very well established. Like, if you got the entirety of Norse mythology on your side, if you're doing Vikings, right, you can do anything.
Yeah,
there's tons of stuff there to draw from, and then make your own world with the already established lore. You take it in different directions. It's pretty exciting. You can do anything with that. And zombies, Vikings, vampires, ghosts. You just look at Halloween costumes, and you've got your game tropes right there, right? Like, they're gonna come and go, they're gonna ebb and flow. But I think to be fair, yeah, I got sick of zombies for a while, but that's because they were in every media at once.
Yeah.
Now, if every show on TV starts being a Viking show while we're at the same time getting all the Viking games, then I can see it getting a little like okay, I've had enough. Like when Walking Dead was out and every game was a zombie game, every survival game it's always zombies, right? Because they're humans, but they're really not, guys. They're dead. Just shoot their heads off. Whoa, But if we get to that point of saturation where it's in other parts of the culture to a huge degree, then I think it might become a problem. But for now, who cares? Greek mythology is great. Vikings are freaking awesome, man. Like, you just want to get in there and just smash axes in people's skulls and just, you know what I mean? Like, that's fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You got a bit too into the smashing axes in people's skulls thing there. That's the only reason I'm holding back here, man.
All right. Well, it's all in good. It's a video game, right? Certainly not advising that in reality in any way, shape, or form. But it's a visceral combat, right? Instead of like the impersonality of doing things at long range, like some of the, with a laser gun, for instance.
I do think it's interesting that I feel like when there is one game that does really well, like a God of War, that it does tend to like lead other people down there. Like I feel like when Cyberpunk, like I feel like there was a real like Cyberpunk wasn't a thing we were dealing with, and then they announced Cyber, and then it was like everyone was doing something kind of, you know what I mean? Like we started to get more indie things that were like kind of in that space and doing interesting things within those worlds, right? I think there's something maybe to that, but definitely reading some.
Well, let's see what happens. How many dystopian future, like super sci-fi games do we get 2 years after Cyberpunk? That's how we'll be able to tell. Mark it down. If we see a surge, then we can track the trend chasing. All right. Otherwise, people just like stuff, the same stuff they've liked for 100 years.
The Halloween costume thing, yes.
I go back to my Halloween costume example. I think it's genius.
Yeah.
They're going to use that. They're going to teach classes with that, right? Okay, Randy really doesn't like them.
Yeah. Well, it's always a costume with you, Dan. It's always a costume. All right, dear GI, you're locked in a room with no lights, windows, or means of escape. All that's inside is a chair, television, and some video game console. You are adequately fed, so there's no worry of starvation, but the food is not particularly tasty. Suddenly, a voice comes out of nowhere and says, "We will only let you out of this room if you play one of the following games for 100 hours. You can take breaks and pace it however you want, but pausing the game will stop the clock and only resume once you unpause it. The 3 games you can choose from are Bubsy 3D, Mortal Kombat Special Forces, Superman 64. Which one do you commit to playing for 100 hours to earn your freedom?" Jason from the Ukraine. The Ukraine. Look at that. How cool is that? Another one. What's up, global
That's awesome.
market? How you doing? All right. So this feels like that I should be like in some weird clown mask, like reading this over like a you'll come to it. But okay. This is scary though, right? Like you have to choose one of these 3 games to play.
Well, hold on. Do you?
Yes. Do you think there's another way out of this?
You just die.
Well, no. But maybe it's, I'm in a room with video games. I'm well fed.
No. There's a console. It doesn't say there's video games. It says there's a console. It doesn't say there's other games. It's eventually you're going to get one game to play. It's an empty room.
Okay.
So we're supposed to think about this like Saw, but with video games.
Yes,
sure.
Exactly.
So we can't just stay in the room indefinitely.
Well, you could. You'll be real bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would choose being bored out of your mind rather than playing one of these 3 bad games for 100 hours. I don't believe you, Joe.
Did you not read the 3 games?
I did read they're bad.
You know what they are.
They're bad. That is why this is a great question. That's why this is tough. This is not meant to be easy. You have to choose one though. You have to choose one. All right, Joe, you think about it. Alex, you look like you've determined what you're doing.
I think.
By the way, because I think you're playing Bubsy 3D. By the way, that's what I think you're doing.
I don't know if I should be insulted by that or not.
You look like a Bubsy 3D fan, Alex.
I'm not. I'm going counterculture. I would go Superman.
Superman 64.
I'd play it till my eyes bleed, and I think they inevitably would. But I mean, you're flying around Metropolis, right? Like that. Because that counts, right? You could just fly around for a while. You don't have to be really present.
It doesn't say you have to win. It just says you have to play.
You have to play.
Yeah.
So you can't just sit with it on. You have to be engaging.
I don't think you can just rubber band the controller going right and have like
and
Superman
just going
spinning
around
a circle,
and around.
right?
Yeah.
Like you have to engage. You don't have to beat it, but you have to engage the game.
Okay.
For 100 hours.
I think I'd still
I have
pick
to look
Superman.
up Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with the Mortal Kombat one. I don't even love Superman as a character. Like he's not super interesting to me, but I like superheroes. I'm going Superman.
Right, Superman 64. Dan. What game do you play for 100 hours?
First of all, shout out to my boy from the Ukraine for putting one of my favorite franchises on this list.
I know. Oh my God.
Thank you. Absolutely. It's Bubsy. Slam dunk. I'd be out of there in like 3 days. No problem.
3 days. That's not 100 hours, by the way.
It doesn't have to all.
You can't do more than 24 hours a day. Just FYI.
All right. A week. I'd be out of there in a week. And I would come out. The door would open and I'd still be playing.
What?
Bubsy.
I know. You really didn't get set up for this. I just don't know why you like Bubsy 3D so much.
I actually, to be fair, I don't like Bubsy 3D that much. But out of those games, I could live playing Bubsy 3D. It's not. I don't like it as much as the other Bubsy games, but I'll live with it.
How many Bubsy games have you played?
3.
Okay.
Would you consider a Bubsy tattoo?
No. Come on. I don't have any tats, and I'm not getting one for Bubsy.
What about for Extra
Andy,
Life?
Don't be ridiculous, says the man wearing cat ear headphones, a duck hat, and a jacket with a palm tree in the background.
Thank you, Joe.
Isn't that normal?
Joe.
Hey, we're talking about being. What was described for this experiment is basically my life right now.
It's true.
So like, I mean, it's not that crazy.
But I mean, like, you do. I just, so you know, Dan, you have a weird twinkle in your eye when you talk about Bubsy. It's
right.
It's kind of unnatural at times. Like you really like Bubsy. You really like Bubsy.
Would say that the love for Bubsy is unnatural, but I think that I think if you go back and you play the SNES game today, you'll be like, and you compare it to other games of the era, you won't hate it as much as you think you hate it.
Well, the Super Nintendo, though,
right?
That's
the beginning of Bubsy's arrival onto the grand stage, shall we say?
Who can forget it?
I'm not gonna give 3D any points. Okay, Bubsy 3D is not that great of a game, but I can play it for 100 hours.
How about this? Is Bubsy a farm animal?
No.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to double check.
That's where he draws the line.
Definitely not a farm. He could hang out on the farm, but he's not a farm animal.
He's not a farm animal. Okay. Yes. All right. Joe.
Yeah.
Bubsy 3D, Mortal Kombat, Special Forces, Superman 64, or your choice that you were contemplating before, just sitting there forever.
Until death, by the way. Like this is like the Saw situation, right? So
yeah, I mean, your family never sees you again. You never see anyone again. Everyone goes, "Where's Joe?" Like, oh, he's in that room, and being hard-headed because he won't play Bubsy 3D, Mortal Kombat, or Superman to get out of that room.
Yeah. So I looked up Mortal Kombat, which I had forgotten about, and I think I actually was in a replay on that a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it was unplayable.
Yeah, it's bad.
So I mean, like more than just like, haha, that's a bad game. Like, it's a ridiculously bad game to the point that I would prefer to play Superman 64 over Mortal Kombat. That's what I got to go with.
That's what you got to go with. I'm with you, Joe, and that there's just no way I play Mortal Kombat Special Forces. There's not a version where it is Mortal Kombat Special Forces. It's just not. So I'm not going to choose that one. I'm torn. I understand why you pick Superman 64, but I'm afraid I have to go with Dan.
Oh my God.
I get it because just on the basis of game quality, right? Like Superman 64 is trash.
We're not saying game quality here. There's no game quality win on any of these. Like, I just think, I don't know. I don't want to just flying through those rings in Superman 64 might be the most brain dead thing in the history of games. I just don't want to do it. I just can't. It's not that I like Bubsy. It's that I dislike the other two games more. This is where the choices come from. So it's Bubsy 3D. But I'll get my freedom, and I will never play Bubsy 3D again. That is a very interesting question. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Jason.
That was like a really cool version of Kiss, Marry, Kill, actually. Like a very
in-depth.
I also want to know more about the people who've trapped me here.
Yeah.
Like, I want a spin-off story about why this room was constructed and what purpose it serves beyond just playing one of those games for 100 hours.
And how we make it our life's mission to track them down and make them play 200 hours of these games each.
Yeah.
This is a good revenge tale. I like this.
So this makes me think of, we've made this joke for a long time, and I may be giving it away too soon, but I've kind of always wanted to do a contest where we put it online or, in the magazine, you're like, win a night in the Game Informer vault, right? Where people can enter and they would get a night in the Game Informer vault. And so like the picture would show them like with like popcorn and candy and like, their arms, like sitting in like a lounger, feet up, all the consoles at their disposal and a big TV, and play whatever you want in the vault, right? And come and do that. And we get the winner. They come to the office and we put them in there. We're like, we're going to lock you. You are locked in the vault for the next 24 hours. You won. Way to go. Congratulations. We put them in there. We sit them in the chair. Choose whatever you want. Have at it. Enjoy. Bye. And we close the door. And the consoles are there. The games are all there. But we took all the cables away. So they can't connect the console to any of the TVs, but we record it. So they're in there, right? And they're like digging around like, okay, well, I got the games, I got the consoles. How do I set them up? And they're like digging through everything. And we're outside having a good time, like laughing, you know what I mean? And then eventually, about 30 minutes in, they're kind of like banging on the door, like, hey, everybody at Game Informer, there's no cables in here. Could you? And like, we don't answer. It's just like, it's a big trick. And it's just a horrible, evil, mean trick. But I've thought about this, and as you can tell, I've thought about this, and I kind of think it's funny, but we'll never do it. That's just too mean.
I think that's how Saw started.
Yeah. I mean, we'd also have to install a door that cannot be opened from the inside.
Yes, Joe. Thank you. Yes, that's true.
There are just other practical concerns.
I like that we're talking about the practical concerns over the moral implications.
Without the whole no cables thing, I think it's a freaking sweet idea.
I mean, because I know for me, I would be like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, because you're right there. You're right at that moment of like this is going to be the best night of my life, to just like, where's the cable? Right? And just like how it would just like be a mind mole that would just drill into your head.
Mean, Andy, apart from the psychological torture aspect of it, that's actually a really cool contest idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that no one's going to apply to now because they've heard this.
I'd be fascinated to see what they choose to play for that sessions. Like, because you got all that stuff at your disposal. That would be extremely fascinating.
Yeah, it would be. So, all right. So that's a little side story there. Sorry, I got off point. So, hello, Andy Mac in the GI pack. I recently started playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and overall I think it's a great game. But during a recent playthrough, I've noticed something. I am murdering a lot of people and animals. Killing AI baddies in games has never bothered me before. I played all the Uncharted games and am acutely aware that Nathan Drake is a mass murderer. But something about this game has given me pause. And it's kind of affecting my enjoyment of the game. My question to you is this. Have any of you ever felt guilty when playing a game where you're tasked with killing an onslaught of people creatures? Has it ever affected the way you play or the types of games you play? How have you made peace with the fact that you've taken the virtual life of someone or something that maybe had a virtual family and they will never see that virtual person again? Thanks, Jeff from Los Angeles. Thank you, Jeff. That's a very interesting question. And one that I think we come in contact with quite a bit. How do you feel about being a mass murderer, Dan Tack?
I think it really depends on the game. So, for instance, in a game where I am meant to have a negative experiential feelings from it, it works very powerfully. Like This War of Mine, for instance, a game where you make decisions to literally kill people, and they make you feel, that's a game where you see horrible consequences for your actions, and you are constantly getting negative emotional feedback to your actions, killing people, starving people, or worse, and that feels a lot different than mowing down a bunch of nondescript, terrorist grunts or something in a shooter, right? Like, who cares? They're not given the same perspective. I think that matters a lot. Like, the emotional tones of the game, the situations that you're encountering. Like, sure, if I gun down somebody and then some like little child comes out screaming, "You killed mommy," that's going to be a lot different than just like, like 1,000 times over, right? Like, very different. All context matters a lot.
So you're saying if you just don't know who they are or they don't have any path, you're like no Russian all over all these people, just mowing everybody down in the airport.
I'm saying that, like, I view them as AI combatants and not as people. They haven't been humanized. They are a gameplay element to me. They're not humans. When they start adding humanity as an element to the game, then that's a different situation.
Okay. All right.
See, I don't know. In my mind, for the examples that are brought up there, I think killing humans in games bothers me less, because I think there is an element of, look, I am clearly a badass Jedi.
Yeah.
And you are choosing to make me defend myself against you. If you are telling me it's kill or be killed, well, then I guess I have to attack you with my lightsaber, right?
Yeah.
I think that gets harder when you start putting animals in the equation, because they're not making the choice in that sense, but they still feel the pain and suffering of it, and they just can't stand a chance against you normally.
Wait, what if hang on. What if it's is there a difference between killing, say, a Tauntaun or a Rancor?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing for me when you talk about Jedi.
Jedi, using Star Wars.
Jedi, they were all kind of bug animals, and I was like, it's a bug. Bye, bug. I had no problem when they were bug creatures. It didn't even cross my mind. But as I've mentioned before, I'm playing AC Odyssey right now, and all the time, a dog will join in on combat, and I'm like, just go away. I don't have to kill the dog. And he keeps attacking me. I'm like, dog, stop. And then I got to kill the dogs. Yep. And it kind of makes me mad. And I'm with you, Jeff, in that there's no option in the game. I want an option that's take the dog, tie it to a tree, whatever, throw a stake. I don't know, whatever. I don't want to do that. And the other thing too, it's hey, go out and kill 15 bears. I don't want to go kill 15 bears. I like bears. I don't want to go kill a bunch of bears to get bear pelts to make some idiot in some town happy or move the story forward. I wish I didn't have to make those choices. So there are definitely times that brings me down, right? I have different level for different animals.
Yeah. I think when you balance it out, whether it's human or animal, I think you weigh, A, are they choosing to attack you or not? B, how much of a chance do they stand against you? And C, how is their suffering depicted upon defeat?
Yeah.
And the intersection of those things is what determines my guilt for murder.
Yeah. But I also too, I've had to after I played Doom, and I was and I know they were just demons, but I was just you murder a lot of demons in that, right? You're just I just was blowing a lot of stuff up, killing a lot of things. I played a short hike afterwards because I was I just don't want to kill anything anymore, right? There's definitely a time games use violence a lot, right? And I think there's been a lot of talk about ludonarrative dissonance, and particularly about Nathan Drake, because Nathan Drake's so happy, and he's killing thousands of people in his game, right? He'll just show up on an island and be this island's great. This is funny. One-liner, pow, 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 pow. And just everybody starts going down, right? And I know they put them as they're the bad guys or the things like that, but you definitely, he's in the real world, Nathan Drake would be number one on the FBI's most wanted for just mowing through humans, right? And that's always weird the way that works in games, but it's okay. But I do agree at times you got to cleanse from that. A good puzzle game, a good strategy game, anything like that to come back to where, shooting a lot of people feels good again, I guess. It never feels bad, but you know what I mean?
I think this is a springboard that I don't want to step on or use right now into a larger discussion about our industry's obsession
reliance
with
on violence.
Yeah. And how just the go-to vocabulary in most games is it's you perceive the world through down the barrel of a gun.
Yeah, it's very true. And I think it's one of those things that I'm with you, Joe. It is a long conversation. I mean, I think they have shown that it's not affecting, there's different studies, certainly, you know what I mean? That you can go down that it's not that it's turning people, it's not some murder simulation that sends people out in the world to be murderers, right? I don't think that's
I'm not talking about it in terms of that as much as it is just the variety of experience that you're providing to players.
Yeah.
But
no, I agree.
That's another thing. We can do that another time.
Yeah,
That's
we
a whole
can.
podcast by itself. This is a very, very big topic and an important one. I think.
It's a good conversation.
Yeah. I mean, that's to circle it back around. That's one of the reasons why earlier when I was like kind of complaining about the Unreal demo is that's why I think AI and the ability for computers to create more realistic worlds, not just in the way they look, but the way we interact with them, hopefully leads to more choice. Do you know what I mean? And more ways that we can deal with the situation that it's not so binary. And that's the thing I really, you know what I mean? I want to be able to play an Assassin's Creed game, not where I can climb to the top and, you know, do the eagle scan and come down and just kill whoever they tell me to kill, but like make real choices, right? And have them have real effects and build things around that. That's something I really want, because I kind of, to some degree, at times I don't want to choose killing things, especially when they give you a mission. That happens a lot in games too, where they're like, well, those people, they're bad, go kill them. And I'm like, I don't know that I think they're bad. Do you know what I mean? And like literally at that point, sometime in the game, it'd be like, set down the controller, never play again, because there's no other choice. Like I have to go like clear out that village, right? To move the story forward, which sometimes I wish just wasn't the case. It's a great question. Thank you, Dave.
One last little note. I would say if you are someone who is interested in playing a like big, rich RPG that does not have a lot of violence, I was really impressed with how Disco Elysium pulls off its system as a like full-fledged RPG without a combat system. Yeah.
No, thank you, Jeff from Los Angeles. Great question. Really interesting topic. One that we could go on and on about forever.
Special podcast. Right. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's get to that 1,000th episode as quickly as possible. We're gonna try to keep things moving here. We did a 4-hour show last week. We essentially did a 4-hour show. And I still stand by the fact that I blame Alex and Leo, just because that's just what I'm doing.
Exactly.
But once again, thank you for the great emails. Please send your questions to podcast@gameinformer.com. We really appreciate it. If you're enjoying the show, please follow, get your apps, follow us. We really appreciate it. But we have more stuff here. We are going to play some Kiss, Marry, Kill. And I think we got some good ones this week. And ones that like maybe all three of the choices aren't great, but two of them are like a real conundrum. Like two of them are going to be like, I don't know. Like that's where it's going to get hard. Like when you have to pick that. So first of all, this first one is from Ken from Waterford, Ireland.
We are freaking international. We don't need airplanes anymore. You come on the GI show. We're here, baby.
That's very cool. I'm very impressed.
Worldwide.
So first of all, he thanks us for the show helps him get through the high pressure times as he works through coronavirus. So thank you for doing all the work out there. Anything we can do to help anyone is just like humbling. If in the toughest of times, if you're turning to the Game Informer show, wow, that's special. So all right, the choices are Tomb Raider, Hitman, Splinter Cell, Kiss, Marry, Kill. For anyone that doesn't know, the game works like this, that if you really love a franchise, you marry. You want to make the biggest, hugest AAA game that's ever happened. You kiss it. You want to make like an indie game, hey, this is pretty cool. This is the next one you want to do. And finally, Kill is Kill. You want to get rid of that game. It is no longer a thing. And by the way, these choices are hard. We don't really want to kill any of these games before anybody gets too crazy. These are supposed to be hard. We're supposed to pick a game that we love. So games that we love are going to get killed in this segment, as you know. But in this particular game from Ken from Waterford, Ireland, the choices are Tomb Raider, Hitman, and Splinter Cell. Kiss, Marry, Kill. Joe Juba.
Oh, I'm first.
You're first.
I think I know that my kill is going to be Tomb Raider.
Whoa.
I think that was an important game when it was first introduced, and as a franchise, even though I haven't played the reboot of it, I know people really like that. But I feel like at this point, Tomb Raider, it has done its thing and it doesn't do a lot to distinguish itself in a genre of action adventure games like it.
So have you lost hope in like a real great future, if someone like just went in and just like kind of like threw away all the like kind of stupid alien stuff that they always went to and made like kind of a gritty Tomb Raider, you wouldn't be in on that?
I don't have to be. I got to kill one of these things.
Yeah, that's true. All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
And then I think the other one would be, I think I'll probably say we're going to kiss Hitman.
Yeah.
I'd like to see, but that's mainly by default, because the one that I want to see really fleshed out more again is
Splinter Cell.
Like I know Hitman has its stealth and disguise elements too, but I mean, I really miss the very pure stealth experience of things like Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
And and also the tone of it, because I know, I mean, I'm not trying to say that Hitman isn't stealth focused, but I think Splinter Cell's world, that tech espionage kind of thing, feels a little more grounded than the, elite assassin thing. And I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
No, I think there's valid reasons, right? And by the way, the rumors point to a Splinter Cell that is coming, right? That's been kind of, I mean, Ubisoft has not been shy in making references to Splinter Cell over the last year. So maybe on that July 11th.
Yeah. That was such a weird moment when like the creative director changed his like avatar to Splinter Cell, and like that was a whole tease. And then they did like the mobile thing. Did the mobile game ever actually come out?
I think they had something like they were in he was like Sam Fisher was in a game, right? Like he was featured in a way.
Go.
It was in
something.
like Heroes of Ubisoft or some crap. I don't know what it was, but it was like they had all the IPs in there, right? Like,
but they've been teasing it. They've been working it up. So you may get your wish. I don't know, but like that certainly, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Dan, Tomb Raider, Hitman, Splinter Cell.
Marry Tomb Raider, kiss Splinter Cell, kill Hitman. Nothing complicated here. Love to see more Tomb Raider. I'd love to see them do different things with it, but I'd love to see more of it. Let's get Splinter Cell back. And as far as Hitman goes, stealth ain't for me. So there you go.
I hear you. Alex?
Yeah, I'm with Dan. Hitman, send him on his way. The series has never been my cup of tea. I would kiss Tomb Raider, give Laura one last grand adventure to kind of go out on. Because I agree with Joe. I did like the reboot, but Uncharted exists out there. There's games that have definitely done things better. And I want so bad to have a Michael Ironside guy in the chair reboot to Splinter Cell and have the new agent and him coaching that. And I think there's a lot of fun things and there's a lot of cool multiplayer things that they could do. And I just want more Splinter Cell. Maybe it's because I haven't had it in so long, but Splinter Cell is definitely my Mary.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I'm gonna be maybe the oddball here. I think I marry Tomb Raider. I understand that I've been disappointed, I think, with everything kind of since the remake. I really liked that one. The second one had a lot of great gameplay parts in it, but the stories have gotten just crazy weird, right? You know what I mean? Like, but I like Laura. I like raiding tombs. There's so many things in that universe I like. I just feel like a little more focus, a little bit more tone control. I think, like, I don't think it has to be like always have like these weird, outrageous villain things. I think you could make it a little more grounded and more interesting. And then that leaves that I have to kiss Splinter Cell, which is tough because I think Hitman and Splinter Cell are in the same wheelhouse for me a little bit. But I think I'm with you. I think Splinter Cell's had a longer time since we've had it, so I probably kiss Splinter Cell, kill Hitman. But they're all great franchises. It'll be interesting. But that's my take. Thank you, Ken Marlin. That's super great. Hey y'all. I thought of a kiss, marry, kill. I'd go with the games we need more of. Dishonored, BioShock, or Splinter Cell again. Guess what? Congratulations on 500 episodes. So we are revisiting one, but I thought it was interesting because Dishonored, BioShock, Splinter Cell. So you just picked one that you guys were like, oh, Splinter Cell, I want more Splinter Cell. So let's put Splinter Cell against a couple of big dogs, right? In BioShock and Dishonored. What say you with this new layup of choices, Joe Juba?
Okay, well, the new layout means that I would marry BioShock. That is a franchise I have loved from the beginning. I love that world. I love the approach to storytelling and the combat, and I want more of that, regardless of what form it takes for forever. So
Yeah.
So there's that. I think Splinter Cell then gets my kiss. The more I think about it, the more what I want from Splinter Cell is less of a return to the original Xbox, like really hardcore memorization focused stealth things. And I feel like Splinter Cell could take the place that that Metal Gear has left vacant. That's what I'd want to see it go for, a little more of an experimental direction, is sort of pick up the torch from MGS5 and keep running with that with, Sam Fisher or another agent. Yeah. So that's what I want from that.
I gotta ask, would you want it to have that kind of Metal Gear Solid tone of like just those run-on monologues that are like part crazy person, part reality? Like, do you want it to be like down that path, or do you want it to like?
So what I got from Metal Gear Solid 5 doesn't necessarily do that.
Yeah.
Which I think is maybe not a great fit for Metal Gear. That was kind of one of my disappointments with MGS5.
Yeah.
But I think that would probably be a better fit for Splinter Cell.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I'm thinking very much like MGS5 as the template there. And then that means that the kill, what was the other one?
You're just hurting my soul.
What was the
Dishonored?
Other one? I love
Dishonored.
No, yeah, no. So I enjoyed Dishonored 1 a lot. And at first, when you posed this question, I'm like, oh, I'd marry Dishonored. I want to see so much more of that world. And it got demoted down to kill because I had to, look at myself and say, look, Joe, you haven't even finished Dishonored 2. Wow. And it's true. No matter how much I say I love that series and love that game, because I did love those characters in that world of the first one, I didn't go back for the second helping. So I guess that, when it's up against that kind of competition, that's it gets axed.
Yeah, I think that might be the one knock on Dishonored that I will somewhat agree with, is that I think the gameplay is exquisite. I love the world and everything when you're in it, but a lot of things about the characters and who they are don't have like a lasting effect, I feel like, to some degree, you know what I mean? Like that you really like latch onto, like a Sam Fisher kind of thing where you're like, yes, you know what I mean? Like that's like easily relatable for people, that it never really got that relationship with people, right? Like,
yeah.
I love the Dishonored world, but I never had a relationship with a character that quite like matured over time.
Yeah.
But no, interesting point.
Can you play Dishonored in third person? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because like that might be one of the reasons why, is that if you just don't, well,
I think it's all in like the storytelling, right? And like how you do it, but that could be it too. That's an interesting question. Once again, we have so many podcasts that we could do on just these interesting questions.
I'm telling you, every day.
1,000
every day. Oh my God, every day. Dan, Tack, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So what do you think? BioShock, Splinter Cell, Dishonored.
Marry BioShock. Everyone always asks me, everyone's always playing the card. Dan hates story in games. So what's the story you do like in games, Dan? I think the way BioShock has done their stories is always the best way to do it. Showing and telling, interactive as you go through. Environments everything tells a story. It's not just in your face narrative, watching people talk. You get to learn what happens through a variety of methods as you play. So that kind of storytelling is always very more impactful for me. So absolutely marry BioShock. Kiss Splinter Cell. I'd like to see something. I really want to know what they could do with that. Let's say it's coming back. Let's see what they do. Great. And Dishonored, loved the first game, like many others here. But it's like Joe said, I didn't go back for the second helping. And
a lot of people didn't. That's
out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. How about you, Alex?
This is difficult for me. Unfortunately, I would also kill off Dishonored.
Yikes, this is rough.
Yeah.
Brutal. Some of the other ones we've had,
Yeah.
it's tough, but it ain't.
No, it's not. There was the one episode all of us were on that I literally had to go in my bed and cry it out after that. BioShock is unequivocally one of my favorite franchises, and I think is part of the reason why I love games so much. It showed what storytelling in games can be. That being said, I do believe Dan Tack coached me even last week on being consistent, and I think the last time BioShock was in this discussion, I think I said I'd kiss it just because like those stories are so great and I don't need to keep reiterating on them. You know, there's always always a city, there's always a lighthouse, there's always a man, you know what I mean? Like, so I think I would kiss BioShock, give me one last wrap to all of it, because all those elements that you talked about, Dan, like that environmental storytelling is so good. That can be done in other series, and I want to see that done in other places. So then I guess I would marry Splinter Cell out of all this. So bring back Michael Ironside.
Yeah, you're really standing by that Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I kill Splinter Cell. I think I might kiss BioShock for the same reason. I think it's done really well. I think, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's tough. I picked Dishonored. I love what Arcane did with that. I'd love to see it go forward. I'm probably the only one that picks Dishonored as the Mary. So that's probably a little solo rook on my own side, but it's tough. I'm excited about the BioShock that they've been working on at 2K and see where that's gonna come. I hope they can capture the magic. I'd love to see it. But I know Dishonored has the magic. I know it has the magic. Just gotta come back.
Yeah.
Bring it back. All right. Hey, GI Mallards.
Quack.
Yeah, quack, quack. So this is from an Attack Corgi. Cheers, guys. Stay safe and healthy. He actually had a GI Town recommendation, which was asking us what our town's visual style was. Was it something like Assassin's Creed, isometric top-down, cartoonish, like Stardew Valley? Which I thought was an interesting question. Just a question. We don't have to answer it. Like, what would be the art style of GI Town if you had
I think everyone here would have a different opinion about what they would want it to be.
Yeah. You see it through your own eyes. We have we have Unreal Engine 7, and it lets you just put whatever you want. Whatever you want. You want realism? It's just a slider. You just go to real. And you want animated, you go all the way over there.
Yeah, you import reality once we get to Unreal 7. There you go.
Yeah, so we're good. GI Town's covered. The Kiss, Marry, Kill is Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remaster versus Mass Effect Trilogy remaster versus Diablo 2 remaster.
What?
Wait, is it?
Yep, that's right. We're bringing it back, baby. We talked about it earlier.
Remaster edition. Remaster rumor edition.
That's right.
Rumors,
yeah.
So, between these three, Alex, what do you pick? Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remaster, Mass Effect Trilogy remaster, Diablo 2 remaster. And by the way, I think this is the one where everyone here picks Mass Effect Trilogy remaster as their Mary.
This is
this one's
easy.
very easy.
Yeah, Mass Effect Mary, Diablo 2 Kiss, kill Tony Hawk. Pretty easily.
I actually don't know that I think Kiss Diablo 2 is an easy answer.
It's a lot of people view it as one of the best games ever. I love Diablo 3, and I hear 2 is that much better than it. I am excited to go back if that's real.
2 is great. I just think it's still great. I don't think you need to remaster that game. I think you can go play it right now, and it's fine. Like, there's just no need to do that. I don't think there's any need to do that. Dan.
Well, it depends on the scope of the remaster.
I'm Dan Tack. I wear a jacket. Let me tell you all about it. Wow.
The hate train.
Coming for your life.
Mary Diablo 2, one of the most important games of my life. Absolutely. Can't wait to see it. Like, if you screw it up, then, that means I'm coming for you. But don't mess it up. That's
Diablo 2 Reforged?
Yes, reforged, not just remake, reforged, and actually reforged this time. It's not just remake.
Yeah, you might want to pick a different subhead for that one.
Yeah. And then Mass Effect gets the kiss. No one's gonna kill that. And then of course Tony Hawk. I mean, honestly, I didn't care much about it back then. I doubt I'm gonna care now. I still, I went to Goldfinger concerts, man. But like,
did you actually?
Yeah. I was.
Look at Superman over there.
I was. Goldfinger, mustard plug, man. It was crazy times back in those days.
Do you have the wallet chain? Were you skanking the entire time? Like, oh man.
I'm getting off topic here. So
I think that's another whole podcast episode. Is Dan's ska history?
Joe Juba.
Yeah. So this one was very easy for me, but in I guess for different reasons than other people. Mass Effect, Mary. What was the kiss? What were the other ones? Diablo and
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna kiss Tony Hawk for reasons that we've talked about already, where like I want it to be good. And like I think the kiss in this case is, let's say that everything that they're saying, that they managed to wrap up all of that nostalgia, all of that modernization, all of that into a sort of like satisfying package.
Yep. Okay.
I want that to happen, and I want to give it the chance to happen.
You will give it the biggest kiss you can. Yes.
And then kill Diablo 2 because for that in particular, like I love Diablo games. I love that formula, but I don't have any particular attachment to like the world story, all of that stuff of Diablo 2. I would just as soon have the new Diablo, like give me Diablo 4. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Joe. I killed Diablo 2. That is definitely the one that I like. Just like I don't need it. Make Diablo 4.
Yep.
Let's have it. And by the way, please don't screw it up, Blizzard. I know you're listening and you're watching. Please do not screw up Diablo 4. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get rid of Diablo 2. I don't think I need a remaster. I think there's a good game out there right now. You can play Diablo 2. It's good. It's fine. I marry Mass Effect Trilogy because we all do, right? And Tony Hawk Remaster, I'm super excited about. I used to play so much Tony Hawk. If it's tight, then it looks good. Like the school, the warehouse, like even those levels that were like the kind of slalom levels where you had to like go down and like you didn't get to like kind of free skate. You were always just like kind of going downhill. Those kind of annoyed me, but I'm kind of excited for them after watching that trailer. Like I'm excited to go back and do some of that stuff. Like make sure you had a good line to make sure you got everything you needed on the like skate spelled out the first time. Like it was a lot of fun. I'm really, really excited about that one. His last question on this from a Tack query was just like a completely off topic, but have you picked up any gaming unrelated hobbies or habits during the quarantine period? If so, what are they? It's a little off topic, but if you guys picked up any new hobbies or anything like that during this, other than a new duck hat for Dan, anybody?
Is that a hobby?
Could be.
It's not picking up brand new, but I've been doing some cross stitching.
Ooh,
nice.
Which I started last year as a present for my wife, and then kind of fell off of. But it's kind of nice. Without a drive to work, I don't really have a good time to sit and listen to podcasts because I can't do that while I work. It's too distracting.
Yeah.
So I find that it's nice that if there are podcasts that I need to get through, I sit on the couch, put in the earbuds and do a little cross stitching.
Are you doing video game characters? Are you cross stitching video game characters?
Can you cross stitch us?
I have all of my cross stitching so far has been video game themed.
Yeah. All right.
That's your hobby.
All right.
Yeah.
And when do we get to see some examples on our work channels?
I'll tweet you one when it's
appropriate.
When it's done. Yeah.
I can't wait either. That's just I didn't know you were so crafty, Joe Juba. So crafty.
I like crafts.
Yeah, there you go. How about you, Alex?
We talked about this a couple episodes ago. I'm getting into my love of food and cooking more. Which has been really great. It's finally grill season, so I've been doing kebabs for Mother's Day. I made a really good porterhouse steak. So that's definitely been one. Been watching more TV than usual. Doggo's back.
Oh, doggy.
Oh, the dog's back. Hi, pup.
And the gloves.
Yeah. What a wild show. I'm excited to Avatar The Last Airbender comes to Netflix for the soon, or maybe even like tomorrow when you're listening to this, but I've never given that show a full watch, so I'm excited for that. And then this last 2 weeks I've been reading more.
Nice.
Picked up Last Witch for the Witcher series, first book in the Witcher series, and then in the Blink of the Eye, which is like kind of the video editor's Bible on like it's from the editor of Apocalypse Now, and he just talks about the differences and techniques from digital video editing to how they used to do it on film, and it is fascinating. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. How about you, Dan?
Well, since I can't leave, and I'm stuck here all 24/7. I've been streaming more consistently since I can't go outside.
Yeah.
So that's been fun, and I've also been catching up on TV that I've always wanted to watch but never have been able to. Just didn't have the time.
Like what?
So I've been watching *Halt and Catch Fire* now, which is on Netflix, which people have recommended to me very highly, and it's an interesting beast, and I'm enjoying it.
Good. Cool.
Yeah, I don't have any new hobbies. I've just been trying to bike more, but I've been doing it all my biking virtually. I've been really trying to stay indoors too. So it's like a lot of my friends are biking outside, but I've been sticking to my Zwift. And like when you take work day plus game time plus bike riding, the days they just melt away so fast. Like I wish I had more time to pick up some new hobbies. I want to do some reading. It's been so nice out. Try to walk more. Try to go out and walk. That's my kind of time to go outside, is just get a nice walk when the weather's good. But that's not really a hobby. I don't have any new hobbies. Joe's
kind of a hobby. Well, it kind of is.
You think so? I feel like the only one.
Broad basket.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll go with that. All right. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Tack Corgi. Appreciate it. This one's an interesting one. So this is from Chris M from North Carolina, which he asked a different question about just like how series and things like that from video games got him into other worlds. But his Kiss, Marry, Kill is interesting here. What he wants to know is, would we kiss, marry, or kill these superhero games / the series, right? So we're in this particular case, we kind of touched on this in a previous episode and people didn't really like it, but I think it's a good example. Like it's Batman, his games, everything.
So all their media goes away.
All of it. The whole, we're buying into the Batman, right?
And
like
so we also get to make, like if we marry, we make new other kinds of media as well as games.
Yeah, it's like this is like the brand you love. We're picking at a brand level. Like this is a brand you love, right? Mm-hmm. So the choices are Batman, Spider-Man, and the Avengers, right? So it's it's pretty much the three big ones. They all got movies. They all have games. We're all kind of hoping that, we all loved the Arkham series, right? The new Spider-Man game from Insomniac, great. We got an Avengers game coming this year from Square. Like there's like lots of stuff. The Avengers movies obviously were like huge touchstones in like comic book hero movies. So, there's a lot there. There's a lot to choose from in this case.
Now, super nerdy question here. Just to be good clinical, if we kill the Avengers, does that mean we kill all of those individual IPs that are in the Avengers? Or could we still have some of the, like, because Doctor Strange exists without the Avengers, for example?
Well, yeah, because if we kill the Avengers and that's the case, Spider-Man's gone. Because Spidey is an Avenger.
So we're only killing the concept of the team.
I think to some degree, the Avengers have had lots of Marvel universe that have moved in and out as being members of the team, right? So I think that you're right. It would basically like kill all of Marvel, right? by killing the Avengers. So no, that is not the intent, but you kind of, at that point, you have to look at the Avengers as like, that's the only team group hero team, right? The other ones are solo. So yes, it's killing those people would keep existing, but there wouldn't be a team working together anymore. It'd be gone.
Okay, so all right. It's kind of rules lawyering, but I just wanted to make sure I'm just giving everybody a huge out here now.
No, I don't. No, I think there's something to be said for the solo versus the like, like I like to bring up the Alpha Flight. You know what I mean? Where you have that play back and forth. The X-Men, things like that, right?
Sure.
So who are they again? Spider-Man, Avengers,
and
Batman.
And Batman.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman.
I'm Batman. Dan looks like he's made up his mind pretty quickly. I'm going to go with Dan. He seems to have he seemed to determine his path very quickly. Batman, Spider-Man, the Avengers. Kiss, marry, kill.
Okay, well, the rules surrounding this made it much easier, just so you know. Marry Batman, Batman rules. All forms of media. His games rock. The movies rock. I don't think I've ever say no to, hey, let's do it. Do more. Many, many more. Yeah, sure. And then let's see. Kiss.
Apparently, it didn't make it that easy because all of a sudden you hit a
Kiss Avengers.
Okay.
Because I think it's great. I think I'd love to see more Avengers stuff. As it is, I know I even made myself the wormhole to use, but then I thought about it some more. And just kill Spider-Man. And it's a really weird pick for me because I love Spider-Man growing up. He was the only comic that I would religiously get all the time. Going to the comic store and always leave with a Spider-Man issue, the latest issue. But I think out of all the picks, he's the most boring of the ones left available.
Peter Parker is boring.
My take. That's my take.
Okay, I want to point out our writer here, Chris M, also pointed out that because he was playing the Spider-Man game, it led him to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the movie, which I want to take a moment here to just bring up because that movie is amazing. That might be the best comic book movie ever made. It has amazing animation. It is stunning on so many levels, and you just killed it. I just want to bring that up and let everyone know that Dan just killed Spider-Man and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Thanks, Dan.
And what are you going to kill? You're going to kill Endgame? Go ahead.
We'll find out. We'll find out at the end. We will find out.
I was okay. Yeah. I was okay with that until you said Peter Parker's boring. Peter Parker's not boring.
He is the most one-dimensional of all the superheroes or groups of superheroes mentioned.
Versus more than Batman?
Or Captain. Well, okay, hold on.
That's my claim.
Yeah. More than Captain America or Superman.
Okay, we get all the Avengers.
Yeah.
So their interactions are what we call, are what I'm taking there as a scale. It wasn't Captain America alone.
True.
Then you would have had a very good argument.
True. Okay, I'll give you that. I liked the team aspect, but I think I would kill the Avengers. Their stories, they hit a lot of the rah-rah elements of superhero dumb that I kind of am getting a little not sick of, because positivity is great and I like all that, but I do like some more nuanced stories, and Batman to me is number one in that. I think as much as people can harp on the, he's just kind of crazy, kind of not because his parents are dead. I think in the right hands, he's hit more interesting ground, and his team has hit more interesting ground with Jason Todd and Batgirl, and his villains are the best, period. So I'd marry Batman, kiss Spider-Man. He's one of my all-time favorites. And I think he's not boring. And then killed it.
My word was most boring of the characters. Okay. I mean, that's different.
Okay,
that is different.
Fair enough. I'm going to go back to Dan for just one moment, Joe. Which is okay. If I would have said you killed all the Avengers, if you killed the Avengers, you were like, "Oh, this makes it so difficult." What would your choice have been if that was the rule?
I mean, I would have actually done exactly the same.
Yeah. Okay.
But I thought about switching, switching them because of the rule, and then I said, yeah.
Okay. All right. And once again, Batman, I'd like to point out, is a great character for his universe, but Batman himself is just.
That is one adaptation of Batman, yes.
I feel like they're all the same.
There's some good comics that.
Yeah,
there are.
Yeah. I'm talking old comics, 60s and 70s comics, man. Still good. Still good. I go back. I've got this giant volume of Batman comics from 70s, 80s era. They're great. They're great reads, and they don't have the same Batman that we know today.
No.
There's still different cool Batmans.
No.
There's all kinds of cool Batmans. Spider-Man is always Spider-Man.
Fair.
Okay, I'm killing Batman.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, coming in hot.
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
Batman is ridiculous.
The others aren't, though.
on every layer, Batman is normal dude who dresses as a bat is ridiculous. His villains are all just are absurd in concept
as a spider
and in villainy. And then ultimately too, it's oh yeah, I want a superhero I can really empathize with, who can tell real human stories, like this playboy billionaire who's untouchable by consequences.
Spider-Man villains are equally as ridiculous to Batman's. They really
disagree.
are. They are so dumb, some of them.
Well, and even if they are, I think Spider-Man as a character and Peter Parker as a character is more interesting and relatable, and adapts to the evolves and adapts to the changing times better than Batman does. Well, anyway, we don't need to compare them. So Mary
he's made his point.
Kiss Spider-Man, kill Batman. And this is coming from someone, by the way, who's like, I have experienced superhero fatigue like you wouldn't believe. You talk about what's the next zombies, superheroes have been the next zombies for the last decade.
Gotcha.
So even so, I marry the Avengers because I think that is what superhero fiction is at its best. Just this bombastic, incomprehensible soup of particle beams and armor and aliens and all that stuff just wrapped into one.
You just want it to be as big and ridiculous as it can.
I mean, if you're gonna do superhero stuff, that's what it is to me.
Right,
So
that's fair. That's fair. I marry Spider-Man. I think Stan Lee's best work is Spider-Man. He's interesting. He's lovable. I love the fact that he's I don't know. I feel like he's always challenged a little bit by the world and why he does things. And I think that makes him very relatable. There's just something about him that just is so easy to just see yourself in, right? You know what I mean? I think just like anybody else as a kid, I put on Spider-Man pajamas and thought I was Spider-Man. You could give me Spider-Man pajamas today, I would run around the house thinking I'm Peter Parker. He's just relatable. Spider-Man's cool.
Yeah.
I like Spider-Man. I kiss Batman because I do like the dark stories. He does have the best villains, right? I do have a certain I like Batman. You know what I mean? I just don't think he's very relatable. I do think he's kind of boring. I do love his worlds though. And the Avengers, just versus Batman and Spider-Man, I got to pick somebody. Buy Avengers.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, they were not even my favorite super group until the movies came out, and then I really kind of got into them. You know what I mean? I think going into them, if someone said Iron Man's going to be the super loved, great character, I'd have been yeah, Iron Man.
Yeah.
and, you know what I mean? And that's wrong. I mean, Iron Man's awesome. You know what I mean? They killed it in the movies, but I wasn't sitting around excited about Iron Man. And Spider-Man's I like Spider-Man, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is
so good.
So good. It's so good. Thank you, Chris M. from North Carolina. Great question. Great kiss, marry, kill. A lot of fun. Kind of fun to do these other things. We're getting into the comment section. You don't have to answer these questions. I'm trying to wrap this show up so we keep it on time. But I got a couple of things I want to point out here. First of all, once again, thanks everyone for the congrats on 500. Thank you. That was the number one comment, number one email, number one everything. So I have to bring it up again. This is from Nick Papadopoulos, which he says is pronounced Smith. But what he says is for game difficulty, which we talked about on a previous podcast, was I always play on easy. I not only just do it not to have the time to continuously replay hard segments over and over again, but I just do not need the damn aggravation anymore. So that was a topic I got a lot on. A lot of people wrote in about how they were more than willing to play on easy. They did not have any pride. By the way, not a negative thing. I'm just saying they didn't let their pride stop them. They were I want to get to the fun. And they went to easy. And I think that's important for game developers to realize there's a lot of people that want to finish your games. You know what I mean? They don't want to be aggravated. I mean, I'm not saying make every game easy. I'm just saying that there is a market that's definitely a thing. So make sure you have choices. Accessibility for everyone, everywhere. Super important. If you can do that, I think that's important to the success of your game. So thank you for that part. But he does ask some more, I think, more interesting question. Why does Joe love Other M so much? It kind of disqualifies him as a legit game reviewer.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Yeah. That's what. Yeah, Nick just dropped that. Just drop that out of there. And then next he says Dan Tack needs his own show, probably on dating advice.
You don't want my taking advice, believe me.
Yeah. So once again, Nick, great work. This is not a group discussion. I don't want to hear what you have to say, Joe. No,
I have not even finished Other M.
This is comments. We don't want to hear more about why you like Other M. I don't know why you want to interrupt me now and talk more about Other M. We're not talking about Other M anymore, Joe. Okay? Why do you like Other M so much, Joe? All right. So, Andy, a lot of people were underwhelmed with the Xbox event, myself included. The main point of the contention is the games didn't exactly look next gen. Now I see a lot of enthusiast press folks saying, don't expect a big leap in graphics this gen. Hold on. Did people forget the Series X reveal? The amazing Hellblade 2 trailer? Phil Spencer said it was real time. I just don't think Xbox got enough credit for that surprise reveal. Don't fret, gamers. Just you wait. Xbox Series X and PS5 will not disappoint in the graphics department. Salim Muhabin. He's right. I think there's a lot more to learn. Don't be disappointed. Really appreciate the comment. And finally, hey, Andy and crew, from what we've seen of Marvel's Avenger, could you ask the panel to do a short verbal review of what they think the real reveal will look like? Bonus points for a score. Oliver from Montreal, he is asking us to kind of review a little bit on the upcoming Marvel's Avengers game
The one that we have not seen?
That's correct, Joe. One we have not seen, which is the point. We have not seen that. We've also not seen Ghost of Tsushima. There's a lot to learn. There's so much when we talk about next generation, when we talk about games that are on the horizon, we talk about shows, E3, demos from EA Play, events from Ubisoft. We're going to see so much. There's so much we do not know. That means the future is bright for games. There's a lot of exciting things coming. We're going to do a special edition podcast for Ghost of Tsushima. You hopefully will tune in and listen. Hit that button. Smash it. Smasher. Smash it. You want that bell. You want to hit that bell. You want to pick your favorite podcast app. You want to look at it. You want to find it. You want to subscribe to the Game Informer show on that app now as we speak. Even though Joe loves Other M, we still need to soldier on. The show is not ruined by Joe. We are okay. You're okay. Everybody be safe out there. Thank you for listening to the Game Informer show. See you next week.